81 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Multiple homes in Holiday were affected by a mudslide last night. This happened just east of I-215 near Knudson's Corner. Unified Fire Authority spokesperson Kelly Bird says this was caused by a broken water line which sent a ton of mud and rocks down the hill.
One home was impacted pretty severely. There's a significant amount of flooding and mud in their basement, but the other two homes, a little bit of exterior damage, but pretty much unscathed, fortunately.
Nobody was hurt. The water has been shut off, but now folks are trying to clean out a giant muddy mess. KSL News Radio's Adam Small is live at the scene and will continue to gather details. Traffic in Mill Creek Canyon could be getting a little lighter. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The Central Wasatch Commission is looking at installing a shuttle service in the area. A new study will be addressing the main issues in the canyon: full parking lots at popular trailheads, illegal parking on the roadway, pedestrians walking long distances, watershed issues, loss of vegetation, and erosion caused by the overflow parking. Additional problems are popping up as well, with the upper Mill Creek Canyon temporarily closed and construction underway in Immigration and City Creek canyons. The commission says a shuttle system has always been part of the vision, and we could use one now more than ever. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow up 26 points to 44,049. Coming up, we've still got emergency traffic in both Salt Lake and Davis County. We'll update traffic and weather together next. KSL News Time 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
AARP Utah is excited to share a big win for Utahns on their electric bill, thanks to the Public Service Commission's decision. Instead of the original crippling proposal of a 30% increase, your Rocky Mountain power bill will go up less than 5%. AARP Utah wants to thank over 3,000 of its members who stepped up to help. You used your voice and sent postcards addressing your concerns that were hand-delivered to the Commission. You made a difference. Your voices were heard. And thanks to you and other AARP Utah members, critical electricity for so many will remain on. Buildings will remain safe, cool, and the possible hardship for so many has been averted. AARP Utah also extends thanks to the Commission for protecting access to affordable energy programs critical to so many. To learn more about AARP Utah's work and how you can get involved, visit aarp.org/UT. That's aarp.org/UT.
Five guys walk into a JCW's and order burgers. A pastrami, a mushroom Swiss, a guacamole bacon, a hickory barbecue, a ribeye steak, 2 onion rings, 3 french fries, a strawberry, mint, peanut butter, chocolate, and marshmallow shake, and not one left to tip. Because at JCW's, we don't ask for it. We think the price you see should be the price you pay. And all that, would you like to leave a tip stuff, is for the birds. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it. Open in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly with the update.
The longest stretch of delays remains northbound I-15 from 2100 north in Lehigh into Sandy from an earlier multi-vehicle crash. We still also have delays southbound I-15 in Davis County. That is as you approach Woods Cross area. But those delays are quickly easing up as all lanes of travel have now been opened up, but you still have emergency crews on the right shoulder. A lot of people still taking Legacy southbound as their alternate in Farmington, and that is slowing you down quite a bit. And a new crash on the 201 freeway eastbound right underneath the I-215 overpass. Smith's Pharmacy welcomes Express Scripts Medicare D and TRICARE Department of Defense plan members. You can transfer prescriptions at smithfoodandrug.com/payer update. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the sun will come out for the rest of the afternoon, but smoky patches will linger in the air. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Right now it's 81 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Fire season around the state, Holly, and it seems more and more, as we've been talking about this for the last several weeks, that there are fires increasing in their size, increasing in the damage that they're caused. And we're talking today about one that's in Monroe Canyon in Sevier County, just south of Richfield. And it seems, Holly, if you're looking at what the authorities are doing these days with respect to fires, they're not only fighting the fire, but they're having more and more emphasis on trying to find out who started the fire. And I think a lot of people don't recognize the fact that it can have criminal and civil consequences to starting a fire, even if you just did so accidentally.
Yeah, that's information that I didn't know either, right? But the Forest Service has identified. They haven't identified. They saw a UTV. Somebody saw a UTV in the area down in Monroe Canyon, and they're trying to get those people identified so that they can talk to them.
There was at least a UTV in the area around that afternoon when the fire started.
That was Public Information Officer Mary Cyranak telling KSL about the fire there. And this one seems interesting in a couple of respects. One is this: they've actually identified the vehicle. They've said, okay, it's a UTV, it's a side-by-side, it's got this certain color, it's got a cracked windshield. I mean, they're more than just sort of tangentially interested in who started this fire. And so I thought I'd look at the Utah law, the Utah code as it relates to fire, because we always think, okay, arson, that's a crime. That's a serious crime.
Right.
And there's no question that that's punishable. We may talk about an arson case in a minute here. But even there's a crime we have in Utah called reckless burning, which states that if you start a fire, even if it's accidental and you don't take steps to put it out, you can be guilty of a crime. You can be guilty of a crime in Utah. And we have another crime that I wasn't even aware of that we've just put in the books in the last couple of years, which is failing to put out a campfire. I mean, if you leave a fire unattended, even if it causes no damage at all, you can have criminal consequences to that. And I think a lot of people don't expect that, because I think a lot of people that start these fires do so accidentally. And maybe the case, even the one that we're talking about now, may involve a person who started the fire and got scared and fled rather than took some steps necessary to try to prevent it from getting worse.
Maybe. And to be clear, right, this the UTV that they're looking for, this is just right now they're not saying that this person or these people are suspects. They're looking for the individuals driving this vehicle because they think they might have some information. But they also said, this is the Forest Service, they also said that they're looking for any other information regarding individuals responsible for starting the fire. So they may be separate people, right? So we have to be clear about that. But one of the things that stood out to me when you said that, right, is we try to be careful when we go camping to put our campfire, but sometimes, it's like, well, it's mostly out and we'll be okay. And then it's not mostly out. And that, I guess that's where the concern comes, right?
Yeah, and it's in Utah. I mean, it's more and more, especially as things are heating up more than they have been in the past. And we're in a severe drought right now, and the authorities are just so concerned about fire. This one, I think you told me earlier, has burned 5,000 acres. This is Monroe Canyon, like I say, south of Richfield, 0% contained.
Right.
5,000 acres, that's a pretty good-sized fire. And that's probably one that's going to be getting closer and closer to dwellings or cabins or recreational areas up in that part of the state.
It's still growing, of course, with 0% containment. And I think, again, we have to be careful with our behavior outdoors. It can be as simple as a chain. If you're pulling a trailer and your chain is bouncing on the asphalt, you can create a spark and it can start a wildfire next to the road that you're on.
Right. And if once you become aware of the fact that that's occurred, you have a legal and really moral obligation to do something about it, to stop, even if it's just to call 911, even if it's just to report it. Because people, I think, get so afraid, Holly, that they're going to get in trouble, that they've got some liability. The trouble comes when you don't act, when you don't do something. I mean, starting the fire accidentally isn't a problem. Well, it's a problem, but it doesn't become criminal until you run away, until you do something to make it worse.
What are some of the potential consequences? I think I remember a story from a year or two ago about some teenagers that started a fire, and they were on the hook for like $5 million or something.
Yeah, so there are two areas that we look at when people start a fire. One is the criminal consequences, what happens to the person punitively, punishment. And the other one involves the civil consequences, which are what are the damages. And the jurisdiction, the county, the city, or whoever's harmed by it, even the homeowner, if or a cabin owner whose house is damaged, can collect damages for their out-of-pocket losses. Insurance companies can collect far more than that. It can be, like you say, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. Of course, people don't necessarily have that kind of money, but they're going to be chased down for garnishing their checks, doing whatever they can for the rest of their lives, theoretically, because it's not the kind of thing you can just walk away from. Plus, there's also the cost of the fire maintenance. If the fire crews go out there, the county can say, look, we put 5 firefighters on this. We had 2 trucks on it. We spent $10,000 trying to put this fire out. We want to get reimbursed for that. They will get reimbursed for that. And people don't recognize that when they're out there lighting fires and having campfires and doing things that they think at the time are safe. Right. And maybe they do seem safe at the time, but you have to maintain that. And at this time of year, I mean, you can't even stress enough how important it is to maintain this and be careful what you're doing, because so much of the state is on fire and has been, and it's just hard to contain these fires now.
So one stat that I saw this morning that really stood out to me, fire season, we're kind of in the middle of it. It's going to go for a while still. How many acres do you think burned in Utah last year during our fire season? Just
100,000?
Yeah, close-ish, 91,000.
Okay.
Guess how many have burned so far this year?
50?
71.
Yeah, so we're about to set the record.
Yeah.
If things...
We're number one. No.
If things keep going the way they are, it's another record that we really don't need. And it's something that fire authorities have so many other things to deal with. Our first responders and our firefighters and whatnot just have other things that are more important, but when they're out putting out fires, they're putting themselves at risk too.
And it's all over the West. It's not just Utah, right? I mean, this is something that's happening all over the Western United States and in Canada as well. And we've seen some of the bad air coming down from Canadian fires even, right? So this is a really big issue. And I think with the federal conversation saying we're gonna redo FEMA and we're gonna make sure that the states are in charge, you're starting to look at large dollars. Not maybe potentially coming from any kind of federal support. So where are we going to get that?
Right. And you go 1,500 miles to the east and they have floods.
I mean, it's flooding.
It's just a weird time of the year right now. In the West, we're dry. We're having fires. In central Texas, they're having floods. When we come back after the break, Governor Cox wants to spend nearly $2 million a year on an ad campaign to educate Utahns on the benefits of nuclear energy. Will it work? We'll discuss that one after the break.
Amanda, we love talking about Utah Community Credit Union, and guess what? They just got news that they saved their members over $40 million in 2024 alone.
And UCCU is opening 4 new branches in the Salt Lake Valley, which means 6 total now. They have 21st South, Taylorsville, Sandy, Magna, Harriman, and Draper.
And to celebrate these new branches, UCCU is offering some amazing opportunities. First of all, $150 cash just for setting up direct deposit with your UCCU account.
They'll give you up to $250 cash just for transferring any existing loan from another institution to UCCU.
And here's the big one, giving away 10 amazing prizes, including, get this, a brand new 2025 Jeep Wrangler.
So you heard that right. A brand new Jeep Wrangler could be yours, and no purchase is necessary. You don't even have to be a member.
Anyone can enter. It's easy. All you've got to do is go to uccu.com and sign up. So enter to win today.
UCCU.com. Find out more about Utah Community Credit Union, where you're going to love where you bank.
Have old jewelry you never wear? A diamond that's been passed down but doesn't quite feel like you? At Duke's Jewelers, they specialize in remounting and custom design. Whether it's refreshing a cherished heirloom or creating something completely new, they'll help you bring your vision to life. Bring in your own diamonds, gemstones, or even gold. They'll start with a one-on-one consultation, sketch ideas together, and create detailed CAD renderings so you can see exactly what your new piece will look like. They even offer 3D resin models, so you can try it on before it's in production. It's personal, it's collaborative, and it's all done with the quality and care you've come to expect from a 4th-generation jeweler. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville, where your old treasures become new favorites. That's Duke's Jewelers. DukesJewelers.com.
You've built the dream, the home, the lifestyle, the legacy. Now it's time your windows and doors reflect that same $1 million standard. Whether you're designing a stunning custom home or upgrading the one you've loved for years, Peach Doors and Windows is here to bring that vision to life with precision, style, and craftsmanship.
The Peach specialty? High-end custom windows and doors that don't just fit your space, they elevate it. From sleek modern lines to timeless elegant finishes, they offer the kinds of craftsmanship that truly complements a $1 million space. And with Peach, the process is easy. No pressure, no gimmicks, just knowledgeable experts helping you find solutions to turn your someday project into right now.
Visit their spacious showroom, get inspired, and create something beautiful together. Peach Doors and Windows for the $1 million home you live in and the $1 million feeling you deserve. Visit peachdoorsandwindows.com or call 801-566-1255 today.
That's Peach Windows and Doors. Give them a call, 801-566-1255.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Well, it's officially summer, and whatever you have planned for the summertime months in the great state of Utah, it can be made better with a stop at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Say, for example, you're heading up into the mountains, going to do a little hiking, a little shopping at the outlet stores, whatever it might be. How about wrapping up a perfect day with that perfect meal that waits for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at Hotel Park City? And of course, all of the things to do here along the Wasatch Front, especially in the capital city, whether it's a play, maybe a concert, some sporting event, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is waiting for you at 275 South West Temple, where your entree will be perfectly prepared. I love the ribeye steak, and it is always cooked to perfection. The side dishes, the desserts, just the way you're treated, the way the servers take care of you. You're going to love your dining experience this summer at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
The new Inside Sources.
Governor Cox intends to spend about $1.8 million toward a campaign to try to convince Utahns that nuclear energy is a good idea. Holly, the legislature and the governor announced a sort of a push toward nuclear within the last year, but local reaction has been a little bit tepid, and the public doesn't seem necessarily on board for nuclear right now.
Well, ad campaigns are designed to change hearts and minds, right? I mean, that's what they're for. And if you think about some of the recent ad campaigns in Utah, so Utah's Mighty Five, what does that mean?
The 5 national parks?
That's right,
yes.
Right? That's an ad campaign.
Sure.
So is Greatest Snow on Earth, and those
it's on
types
my license plate.
Right?
Right.
That's right. But those are ad campaigns, and even educational ad campaigns. I think as you drive up and down I-15, you can see ads on billboards that are there to educate you or to sell or whatever. So it's an interesting approach. I think one of the things I saw, they're looking at there's a Deseret News HarrisX, and it was also done with the Hinckley Institute of Politics poll from March, like right after the legislative session ended, because as you mentioned, there was a big push to go nuclear.
Yeah, right.
So it's an all of the above. So Utah's an all of the above energy state, and Governor Cox now is the director of the Western Governors Association, or chair, I think is the official title of the Western Governors Association. His agenda for the next year is energy superabundance in the West, and that includes nuclear. And so what they wanted to know with the Deseret News when they were asking people is, do you support nuclear energy in the state of Utah? They found about 50% of Utahns did support it, about 30% opposed, and 20% didn't know.
Yeah, so I guess it begs the question to me, the legislature's on board, the governor's office is on board, and they've got money and seemingly the technology to do this. I know this will sound like a horrible question, but why do you think they want to get the public on board with this? I mean, the obvious is, I'm begging the obvious here, but it seems like nuclear is coming down the tracks. Would you really want the people to be rah, rah, rah when the train comes?
Well, yes, and I'm going to speculate here, but from a marketing perspective, or with that hat on, right? If I am the legislature or the governor, and we're really all on board. These train metaphors is so funny. We're really all in on nuclear. I don't want people picketing when we're setting up these modular nuclear energy reactors, right? Or the mini ones even that we talked about that could be in place in the next 3 to 4 years, right? I wouldn't want a bunch of protesters. I wouldn't want a bunch of negative press. I wouldn't want people, holding picket signs. So maybe it really is just trying to educate the public. And, we've had this conversation before about nuclear energy. It's not, I think it's not what it used to be. And really for, at least for some of us of a little bit older generation, when we think about nuclear, we think about giant mushroom clouds and nuclear weapons. And it's not that.
Yeah. And some of us also think of a nuclear power plant as being some 1 square mile out in the desert with huge smokestacks.
Right.
And that's not the case either. So you're right. And I think I understand completely. With these more modular, smaller, taking up, a much less of a footprint, there are going to be more reactors. There are going to be more nuclear power plants, and they're going to be in more jurisdictions. And of course, people are going to say, not in my backyard.
But a lot smaller.
A lot smaller, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding that it still is creating a nuclear reactor. It's still creating something that's that we've talked about Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island or whatever. The technology is so much better now, and I think that's something that the governor and the legislature need to educate the people about, that this is a safe technology. I also think, no matter how you feel about it, and 10 years ago, I would not be having this conversation.
Yeah.
I would not be having this conversation because I was scared to death of nuclear energy. But we don't have much choice but to have this conversation, given where we are right now with fossil fuels and whether you want to agree with it or not, climate change.
Nuclear is clean.
Right.
It's a really clean form of energy. And I actually used to work for the Governor's Office of Energy Development more than 10 years ago. We were talking about nuclear at the time then as well. And this is actually the office that will be running this campaign, the Governor's Office of Energy Development, and they've put out an RFP, which is a request for proposal to see, what kind of PR firm wants to bid for this, and the process. Like the applications are already in, and they'll be deciding which PR firm is going to take this on. But one of the things I think about nuclear that I learned when I was working in the Office of Energy Development is that, as you mentioned, the technology has changed so much, but there are places in the world, especially when you look at Europe, that are really using a fair amount of nuclear already. And it depends on the country, but France is something like 80% reliant on nuclear. And Europe is moving more that way in part because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, and they don't want to be dependent on Russian oil.
Right. And as we get closer and closer to what is seemingly some development in Utah, we're talking about what kind of development we need here in Utah. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson spoke about that.
We need the workforce. We need to develop that pipeline force. We need to develop the supply chain. And a lot of that I think we can do here in Utah. We've already got part of the nuclear energy supply chain. I think we would love to explore the opportunity to get more of that here in Utah. And we need site development.
She spoke to us last week about that and we're very positive. I think she'd attended a conference and learned a lot about nuclear
in the
energy
UK.
around there. Yeah, it was right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and one of the things I think again is she pointed this out when she was in studio with us. There's a really big difference between a nuclear weapon and nuclear energy, and there's a difference in the way the uranium is refined, right? And I didn't know that until she told us that there's a difference. You use a different. You don't have to refine it nearly as much for nuclear energy as you do for a weapon, right? So we're not talking about creating potential weapons out in the West Desert or wherever it is. But one of the things that I was intrigued by are these mini nuclear reactors that can go in small communities. And she mentioned, for example, like these little tiny places like Westwater. I mean, I'm just pulling that out of my hat, but where there's not a lot of people who live, and it's been off the grid for a really long time. It's now on the grid thanks to work from Lieutenant Governor Henderson, but and others as well. But something like that, right? It's not talking about these little tiny ones couldn't power a big city, but they can power, a small community.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of hard to imagine for me because it seems like once you decide you're going to go to a nuclear power plant, why not go big? But why not go small is
right.
An equally good argument, especially when you can put seemingly, we're going to find out more, safe facilities around certain smaller parts of the state that don't have real easy access to power lines, don't have really easy access to coal or whatever, and are hurting for electricity right now and power, let's face it, that maybe you can have some of these more rural. And I think as we start doing that, we're going to see like set up 2 or 3, set up 4 or 5, set up a couple in the next couple of years. Yeah. Let's see how they go. Let's see how those communities react, how the people in the community are feeling about it. Certainly it's going to create some jobs just to develop these things and people to operate them, and maybe we'll become less dependent on the things that are causing us some problems.
So those mini reactors could be set up, she said, in the next 3 to 4 years potentially, and those would be, I think, the first ones to try and see, how is this working and how are we doing this. But if you remember, we've seen in the news a lot about AI, artificial intelligence. It takes a lot of power. And Eagle Mountain, as an example, is like, we know we want to have data centers out here in Eagle Mountain as a business, but we're looking at how do we supply the energy for those data centers, and they're talking about nuclear. They're not super far along, but they're starting to have conversations of, can we have nuclear out here in Eagle Mountain in Utah County, right? Because we want these big data centers.
And you can't set up the data centers and then recognize at the end of the day we don't have the power to run it.
We're going to blow the grid.
Maybe we need to work them both at the same time. Interesting. We'll see where that goes. Again, not a conversation I thought I'd be having, but it seems like the technology is there. When we come back after the break, I want to ask you about a word, rescission, which I do not understand, but it's another word being tossed around on Capitol Hill right now, why it is and why the rush to pass a rescissions package. We'll talk about that with Holly next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. A woman is facing charges after police say she caused a boat crash at Lake Powell that left a 14-year-old with severe injuries to their legs. Court documents say this happened on the 4th of July, and Jennifer Lynn Murillo told investigators she had been drinking alcohol before the accident. Her blood alcohol content, according to the charging documents, was more than double the legal limit. People in Fairview are demanding the city remove a motocross track near their homes, and the city council says it'll shut down the track by the end of the year. Council members say the track was never supposed to be a permanent fixture when they voted to have it installed in 2023. People living near the track say they've had problems with dust and noise since it opened.
It's not exactly what we had hoped for, but it's at least something that we have a seat at the table now.
Joseph Anderson represents the homeowners group and tells KSL TV they submitted a public appeal in June that led to last night's decision to shut down the track. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Multiple states are suing the Trump administration over funds for school programs that were frozen earlier this year. North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson spoke on the high stakes in an interview with ABC News.
In North Carolina, these funds heavily go towards after-school programs, particularly for at-risk youth. It's over 10,000 kids that participate in those programs, but also STEM education, mental health services, suicide prevention, adult literacy classes. It's a long list.
It could result in the laying off roughly 1,000 educators just a few weeks before kids go back to school. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 130 points at this moment to 43,892. Coming up, we've had a lot of traffic problems this morning, and today's temps are going to be a little better than yesterday. Cooler, I mean. Traffic and weather together is next. KSL News Time 9:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Andy, my husband, and I had Bedrock Quartz redo 3 bathrooms for us, 2 in the old house and 1 in the new house. And I loved working with them for so many reasons. One of which is that they're like a 4-generation family-owned business here in Utah that has been installing countertops and making beautiful kitchens and bathrooms for years and years.
Well, at my house, I suffer from what's called paralysis of choice. When you've got something as wide-ranging with the different types of counters that they offer with quartz, quartzite, like I didn't even know what the difference between those things are. I'm going to need that kind of help when I go through the process.
Oh, they have wonderful designers. Plus, when you go in their showrooms, it's super easy. At station number 1, you select your color and your material. Then you go to station number 2. And you pick out your backsplash, and then you go to number 3, and you select your faucets. It's so easy to do.
They've got what's called employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time they've ever offered this.
For the month of July through August, everyone gets the friends and family discount.
They've got 9 locations near you from Layton to St. George, including a new one in Salt Lake City. BedrockQuartz.com. That's BedrockQuartz.com.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. Well, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Free Alive After 5 concerts and movies at the plaza Wednesday and Friday nights. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. Keep it cool by checking out live tribute concerts like The Monkees, Elton John's The Rocket Man Show, and the Neil Diamond Experience. If theater is more your style, see the musical Bright Star, Broadway's The Prince of Egypt, or the classic comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. After all, Logan is Utah's heart of the arts. Fresh mountain air is only 10 minutes from your hotel. Enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon while you hike, mountain bike, picnic, fish, or sing yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs. Everything's cooler in Logan, and we've got a lot going on. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. explorelogan.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And let's check in with Heather Kelly.
Well, anybody heading northbound I-15 is going to have the worst traffic still, and it starts in Utah County. A crash northbound 15 at the 800 North exit is on the shoulder. Another crash right after 2100 North in Lehigh is over on the left shoulder. That one has a tow truck on scene, so hopefully that'll clear out soon. Then you still have very slow traffic from Timpanogos Highway in Lehigh over the point of the mountain about to Bangerter Highway. Now, speeds are improving from the earlier nearly stopped traffic that we had, but again, you're still under the speed limit. Then you have more delays trying to get out of downtown Salt Lake, northbound 15, between 600 North and Warm Springs Road. That is due to lane restrictions. The right lane is blocked in that area. Southbound I-15, we also have the lane restrictions in place now in Farmington. That's causing a bit of slowing coming out of Kaysville. Custom software made simple, that's devsimplify.com. Whether you need an app or a full platform, they've got you. Trusted, tested, built to scale. Visit devsimplify.com. Remember, devsimplify.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the sun will get out from behind those clouds for the rest of the afternoon, but smoky patches will linger in the air. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Right now it's partly cloudy and 82 degrees. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And we are less than 2 weeks since the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, but already Congress is looking to cancel billions of dollars in previously approved funding in a different package.
That's right.
In what they're calling a rescission package. This would claw back billions of dollars that was appropriated for foreign aid and public broadcasting. It passed the Senate by a 51-50 vote. The vice president must have broken that tie.
He did.
And now it goes to the House. But I don't know what a rescission package is.
So the vote last night actually was a procedural vote to move forward to vote on the bill.
Okay.
But rescission is a legal term, actually, that it basically means the breaking of a contract, right? So what this is doing is Congress followed the procedure to officially approve funding, but remember Elon Musk and Doge and all the cuts.
Right.
It actually has to be approved by Congress. Doge wasn't an official government agency that can claw back money, and so what this does is actually make those cuts official through Congress, but they have to have it done by Friday at midnight because there was a 1974 law that went into effect that talked about the process of rescission. And there's a time factor with it. So maybe Cami Mondo, who's joining us, she can tell us more about the timing, but also what happened last night and what she can expect today. Cami is the Deseret News congressional correspondent and is on again with us. Thanks, Cami.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So what can you tell us about the procedural vote yesterday? Like, why did they have to do that? And then just why do they have this Friday deadline?
Right. So with the procedural votes yesterday, the Senate is just very specific on how they can move forward with things. They have to approve discharging, which is kind of just a fancy word for saying moving it forward. And then they have a procedural vote to actually proceed with debate. That one just kind of sets the terms for how they're going to debate, which they'll have a vote-a-rama later today. But as you saw with that one, Vice President J.D. Vance had to come in and break that tie just because there are some senators who are still wary of, moving forward with those spending cuts. But yes, they do have until Friday at midnight, basically under the rescissions package. It's authorized by what's called this Impoundment Control Act, which basically gives Congress 45 days to approve what the president is requesting to cut. And if they don't do it by that deadline, then the funds must be obligated. They have to unfreeze what they want to cut.
The Senate voted, Cami, 51-50 on this procedural motion, which is, I think, the exact same numbers for the One Big Beautiful Bill. Were we looking at pretty much the same people lined up on each side of that question?
You had mostly the same. you still had Susan Collins, who voted against it. Murkowski and McConnell were the other two who voted against the procedural vote last night. They ended up voting for the big, beautiful bill, but they mostly had some issues with they just don't know what exactly is being cut, just because the package is not very specific on what exactly will be cut from these different programs, and that's really what they had issue with. But you did see Susan Collins, who has a staunch no on both of those packages.
You know, it's interesting. You just said they don't know what's being cut. I mean, how do you pass a bill that, I mean, I guess it's rhetorical, but how do you pass a bill where you're going to cut funding, but you don't know how much or where?
Right, and that's really what you're seeing as an issue for some of these Senate Republicans, even those who may have voted in favor of the procedural votes. I've heard from different lawmakers who are just a little bit wary, especially with like the PEPFAR cuts or the NPR PBS cuts, is that the package does not go in detail of what exactly will be cut. It just gives a blanket number of what's going to be cut from each program. And so even though behind the scenes they may be trying to fight to like protect a few different things within those programs, you know, they still have, you saw Murkowski on the floor yesterday saying she can't vote for something without knowing what's in it. She said the White House, the administration has not been clear. They haven't been able to answer a lot of questions over the last few weeks. That's really what the biggest issue is with some of these.
Cammie, can you educate our listeners a little bit on this cutbacks as it relates to NPR and PBS, what it is that the administration is trying to accomplish, and why now?
Right, and so with this Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is a specific program that they want to claw back some funds, that helps with some rural and more smaller public radio stations across the country pay for, you know, keeping themselves running. But, you know, over the last few months or even years, I guess you could say, with President Trump, you know, railing against different news outlets, he accuses PBS and NPR of being biased toward conservatives. They think they have an anti-conservative view, and so he wants to target those larger stations. What you're seeing is some Republicans fighting back because the Corporation for Public Broadcasting does more than just supporting the larger NPR and PBS stations. They also help with a lot of rural stations that do like emergency management, you know, like alerting people. And so you're seeing like kind of a weird dichotomy there.
Interesting. You also mentioned a votorama today. So we remember that, I think, from the One Big Beautiful Bill. What type of amendments do you think are going to be proposed today?
I think you're going to see some changes specifically to that PEPFAR and that PBS and NPR funding. PEPFAR, the White House did agree to take out that small portion that cuts PEPFAR, and so we'll have to see exactly what that looks like in language. For PBS and NPR, you know, there's still conversations going on about what that might look like. You'll most likely see some sort of amendment that ties that in, either taking it out completely or just narrowing it down a little bit. And then, of course, with the votorama, you have unlimited amendments. You'll probably see just a lot of messaging from Democrats that won't go anywhere. But I would say the PEPFAR and that public broadcasting are the biggest ones that you'll actually see real changes.
There are also some ideas to cancel billions of dollars previously approved for foreign aid. Do we know any specifics on those cutbacks?
Right. So the main portion of this package, so it's a $9.4 billion package. About $8 billion of that is directed at foreign aid programs, kind of like USAID or the U.S. Institute of Peace. But again, like, you know, we don't know specifically what will be cut. It's just those lines that say this much from this program, this much from that program. But that's what Republicans are really pressing answers for is, you know, what exactly is going to be cut. You see Republicans, you know, kind of messaging that, oh, some of this money goes toward maybe gender treatment programs in foreign countries or goes toward LGBT initiatives. But that's not laid out in the package that specifically would be cut.
Thank you for joining us, Cammie, again, and helping us stay up to date on everything that's happening on Capitol Hill.
That was Cammie Mondeaux, Deseret News congressional correspondent. And when she mentioned USAID, and we're going to come back after the break and talk about USAID while that's being chopped as a part of this rescission package. One component that has been saved, and that's PEPFAR. You talked about that with her a minute ago, Holly.
Yeah.
This is a program that saved millions of lives in the last 20 years, and we'll talk about that when we come back after the break.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our drains department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
You probably saved my life.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight and keep it off.
I mean, I was 30 pounds overweight, and I went in, and the doctor said, you need to change your diet.
Get help and get started with Soda Weight Loss.
Got off my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, and that is amazing to me.
I went from a 16, 18 down to a size 4 now. So that is amazing. It makes you feel so good.
Splash into summer savings right now with Soda's lowest prices of the year.
No injections, no pills, no hunger.
I would recommend Soda because it's sustainable. This is lifetime change.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal.
We're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and results. And with our incredible summer savings, what are you waiting for?
Get help, get results at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
I'm Paul. I'm a contractor. I had a tax problem that was pretty significant. Needed some help with the IRS. I had prepared my taxes for a few years, but when I went to file them, I didn't have any money to pay those taxes. And so I just filed the returns in my drawer and went about my business. And about 3 years went by when I did that, and pretty soon I owed $102,000. And I met with Jordan, and we talked about the hole I dug myself into. And from start to finish, the process was encouraging, supportive, saved me about $80,000, $102,000 to $22,000. No complaints.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Schedule your free consultation today. Visit endtaxworry.com.
The relief is immeasurable.
Don't wait. End your nightmare. Your relief starts at endtaxworry.com.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Inside Sources.
We've been talking, Holly, about this rescissions package, which has been at least seems to be moving forward through the Senate. There's been talk about it. It hasn't been passed yet. But one of the things that's being considered is a huge cutback to foreign aid. But one of the components to that that's been saved is this PEPFAR, P-E-P-F-A-R, a program that's saved millions of lives in the last 20 years. That's been taken out of this chopping block for some reason.
Yeah. Well, so look, I have to explain PEPFAR a little bit. So it actually stands for the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. It's a U.S. government initiative started in 2003 under President Bush. Is it Bush 1? Yeah. To combat the global HIV/AIDS crisis. So what we know about PEPFAR, and I've written about this before in the past, it's a program that has been through bipartisan Republican. It started by a Republican president, but Republican and Democratic presidents have supported it. It really has not been controversial until just recently, unfortunately. But what PEPFAR does is it helps give medication to people in developing countries, specifically Africa, but that's not a country, it's a continent. Specifically countries in Africa, but also in Asia. And HIV is a virus, but AIDS is the disease process that will actually kill you. So what this does is give medication to people on the ground who have HIV, and it prevents it from turning into AIDS and then killing them. So we also know if you can give medication, the right kind of medication, to moms who are HIV positive and pregnant, that it can prevent the babies from actually getting from becoming HIV positive. So it has saved millions of lives over the last 22 years now. And even our own Senator John Curtis has said that he had some real concerns about removing this. And just yesterday, there was news that the White House is like, okay, fine, take that part out. So as Cammie mentioned in our last segment, they're going to have to officially make an amendment to remove that section. But that seems like it will go forward today, that they'll remove PEPFAR.
Do we know if PEPFAR is associated with USAID at all, or if it's sort of its own entity? That is to say, we've cut back USAID. There's no question about that. But what you've described of PEPFAR seems to be something that would be consistent with USAID's mission.
It is. And, a lot of the foreign aid is consistent with the mission of developing its international development. That's the USAID part, is the Agency for International Development, right? And we had a conversation with former Senator and former Ambassador Jeff Flake a few weeks ago, and we talked to him about soft power. That's what these programs also do. In addition to literal help, life-saving help for people, there's soft power there. And one of the things that our current legislative makeup in D.C. right now is concerned about is when you walk away from soft power, it leaves a vacuum. And what happens? Somebody will step in to fill that vacuum. And right now we know that China is just really willing to step in and take over for that. And that's one of Senator Curtis's concerns. It's like, if we walk away from this, China is going to step in.
So to have this done, it would have by necessity required some Republican support, because otherwise
that's right.
we don't have it there.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
There must have been some constituents or some people within some of these Republican states saying, wait a minute, this is taking your cutbacks a little bit too far.
Yeah, and it's that specific program. I think there's other things as well. We'll see how things play out after the Vote-A-Rama today, if they're able to, surgically remove certain programs. But this one, again, has been non-controversial for a really long time. And one of the controversies a couple of years ago was there started to be rumors that PEPFAR funds were being used to promote abortions in other countries. There's no evidence of that, and the PEPFAR program is really specific on treating HIV and AIDS, AIDS prevention really across the world. But that is one of the controversies that came up, and one of the reasons it went on the chopping block. And I think people are looking at it saying, look, like when people talk about when you make these cuts, you are putting tens of millions of lives on the line. a lot of them are really tied specifically to this PEPFAR program.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, I guess, that the size of the commitment to PEPFAR, it looks like it's something in the range of $9 billion. And Trump had requested $900 million be clawed back from PEPFAR, but the Senate, I think, is going to keep this closer to that $9 billion mark.
I think what they're doing is they're clawing back maybe $400 million, right? And so there's a little bit of in between, right? But basically the program will still run. Look, one of the issues with USAID too, and we've been talking about this, or I've been watching the news on it and writing about it since President Trump took office on January 20th. But these clawbacks for foreign aid programs, they have real impact. And one of the things that happened when they froze the funds is food that had already been purchased and designated for foreign aid got stuck in warehouses. And some of the food has an expiration date, like it tends to do. And tomorrow, it's expected that the Trump administration is going to incinerate 500 tons of emergency food. They were specifically high nutrition biscuits manufactured for people in malnutrition, even starvation states. But unfortunately, they've been stuck in a warehouse, and they're not going to go where they were intended. They're going to literally go up in smoke.
And what's the size of that?
500 tons of food. Could have fed 1.5 million kids for a week.
That's really hard to understand. So walk us through where we sit on not necessarily PEPFAR, but just this whole rescission package. So there's been a commitment with the Senate to move the package forward.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken PEPFAR out of it, at least for the most part. And now where does it go? I know this vote-a-rama is a confusing thing to everyone, but what can we expect from the Senate in the next few days?
So they're going to have to pass a final package, and it may be that we need Vice President Vance to cast the deciding vote. What's interesting is if you lose one more Republican, then the deal is dead. And then what Cammie was telling us, right, is if you hit that Friday at midnight deadline, then you are obligated by law to release these funds that have been on hold for 5 months, basically.
Oh, I see.
So the Senate is going to work on getting this over the threshold before that deadline, because it has to go back to the House then for discussions in the House.
So I have to imagine that this PEPFAR cutout was done because there were at least one or two Republicans who were saying,
I'm not going to vote for the bill.
I'm not going to do that. And
Yep.
if you need your 50 plus one with the vice president,
Yep.
you're going to have to take certain parts out.
Yeah. And if you have a tie, at least legislatively, if you have a tie, do you lose, right? So 50-50 is a loss. So, but if you have 51 that say no, and even with J.D. Vance, that makes it 50, then you still, all of the cuts that were proposed by DOJ ended up in these packages. And if they can't get this rescissions package over the hump, basically by the end of Friday, then the funds are freed back up and the spending will occur.
Yeah, I hadn't thought, and I don't know that maybe our listeners don't appreciate you. Okay, so the funds are allocated.
Yep.
They're set to be spent. Congress can go back in and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to rescind that. You used the word rescission.
Right.
I appreciate that you said, hey, that's a legal term for us. You should understand that. So I do now. But the money's allocated. I guess
Yeah.
it's sort of a look back. It's sort
Yeah.
of a wait a minute. Let's take a second look at this and reconsider what we did sometime before.
Yeah, and so again, we're looking at money that has already been allocated. We've talked about this several times in other contexts, right? Is Congress has a process to appropriate funds, and they did it. They went through the process. They voted for it. They said, yes, we're going to spend these funds. And then when President Trump got in, we had, Elon Musk and DOJ, and they're like, we're going to slash this, and we're going to slash this, and we're going to slash this. But they have to do it through Congress, and they have a time frame. And the time frame expires Friday at midnight.
Okay, and that means it's got to get through both houses.
It has to get through
between
both
now
houses.
and Friday.
Yeah, or the funds are freed up, and then the cuts are no longer.
and it's just a procedural vote so far. Then the Senate takes it on, passes it toward the House.
Yeah.
They've got to vote sometime between now and Friday. And
That's right.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you're going to see a lot of late night. I suspect you'll see a lot of late nights over the next few days, and you'll see a lot of. You'll understand that there's a lot of backroom stuff going on, and whether that's, we're going to save Alaska's PBS station, I don't know, but Murkowski last time got a carve out for Alaska, right, which is why she voted for the big, beautiful bill. Maybe that'll happen again with this one. but they cannot lose another single Republican, and there are still people with concerns.
Interesting, and I know we don't have time for you to answer this, that we're having this discussion now after the big, beautiful bill, and the money's about to be spent, and hey, let's take a second look at this. Let's consider this rescission package. When we come back after the break, over 150 dogs and a handful of cats were rescued from an Ogden home back in April. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. People in Fairview are demanding the city remove a motocross track near their homes. And the city council says it'll shut down the track by the end of the year. Council members say the track was never supposed to be a permanent fixture when they voted to have it installed in 2023. People living near the track say they've had problems with dust and noise since it opened.
It's not exactly what we had hoped for, but it's at least something that we have a seat at the table now.
Joseph Anderson represents the homeowners group and tells KSL TV they submitted a public appeal in June that led to last night's decision to shut down the track. Kearns will be hosting a mayoral candidates meeting as the city prepares to elect its first mayor this fall. The city transitioned from a metro township to a city last year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, would-be home buyers are still struggling.
Figures compiled by the Mortgage Bankers Association find applications for a mortgage to purchase a home falling 12% last week, while applications to refinance a home dropped 7%. This all comes as the rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage jumped from 6.77% to 6.82% in the past 2 weeks.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 33 points to 44,056. Coming up, slightly cooler today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Peak summer fun is here, and so are peak summer savings during the Utah Summer RV Sale, presented by Bish's RV, July 17th through the 19th at the Shops of Southtown. We're bringing you sizzling summer savings on new and used RVs. We're packing the parking lot with smoking deals for every budget. Shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more. Like travel trailers starting under $119 per month on approved credit. 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Plus trade up when you trade in your current RV. Get an additional $500 value added to your current travel trailer, or an additional $1,000 added to your current fifth wheel or Class C motorhome when you trade it in. You'll also get a Blackstone Adventure Ready grill with any RV purchase during the sale. And this is the only summer show to feature the entire lineup from Wayfinder RV, exclusively at Bish's. Don't miss your best chance for an epic second half of summer during the Utah Summer RV Sale. 3 days only, July 17th through the 19th at the Shops at Southtown. See you there. Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 81734. Subject to prior sale. See the details. Deal number 426B.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Brad's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, where batteries are as low as $89.99. Sammy, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge. And Sammy does that for free too. In no time at all, Brad is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the only place we're really seeing slowing anymore is where we have lane restrictions, especially southbound I-15 between Kaysville and Farmington right now, where the right lane is blocked near the old Shepherd Lane Bridge. But from time to time, you'll also have the delays coming out of Tooele County on SR 36 and I-80. And right now, if you're on I-80 in Summit County, that right lane is still congested trying to merge onto US 40. But the lane restrictions that we had northbound I-15 around Warm Springs Road in North Salt Lake are gone. Deseret First Credit Union is turning 70, and now it's their turn to say thank you with special member giveaways happening all year long. Visit dfcu.com to learn more. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the high today will be around 94 degrees, but back up to 98 degrees tomorrow. We also have a small chance for pop-up thunderstorms as we head towards the weekend. Right now it's partly cloudy and 82 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Over 150 dogs and a handful of cats were rescued from an Ogden home. This is actually body cam from that rescue back in April. Now, two of the men that are charged with that have been in an Ogden courtroom, have pled not guilty to. I mean, this is one of those cases that you just have to see to believe.
150, right? And they pled not guilty. So hoarding is a really interesting thing. It can actually have a mental health component as well. But in this case, they were hoarding dogs. I mean, you and I both have dogs. We didn't think we would love dogs. You love your dog now. You said that. And I have a little dog that I love. But 150, that's so many.
Yeah, and what I don't understand, I should read the indictment, but one of the defendants is facing 633 charges relating to hoarding 157 dogs and 11 cats at his home, all of them Class B misdemeanors. The other man charged is facing 336 charges. So they must have several charges related to each one, and maybe they compound for every month or something that you have a dog. They're Class B misdemeanors. It's not obviously the most serious crime in the world, but each Class B misdemeanor carries the potential of up to 6 months in jail and a fine of up to almost $2,000.
Well, so that's more than 300 years in jail.
They could be very significant. They pled not guilty, and I would submit that maybe they're trying to work something out to plead to something between 1 and 633 and try to get this resolved. But if the law enforcement was there and they seized these dogs and they do have the body cam that we've talked about, it would be hard to argue there was a mistake or there's something like that. I mean, I've had people that have 2 or 3, or suddenly you get more than 3 or 4 dogs in your house. And different cities have different laws that require you to get a kennel license once you get past a certain threshold.
Right.
But 150 is well beyond the threshold.
Right. There were a total of 168 animals, mostly small dogs, but some of them were cats, right? So, so many. So KSL News Radio's Adam Small was in the courtroom yesterday when this went down.
Both Miguel Salgado Vargas and his nephew Ramon Cano Aispuro both stood before a judge to go through the charges against them, which are a combined more than 1,000 misdemeanors, including dozens of counts of animal cruelty. The two men, with the help of a court interpreter, asked for and qualified for a public defender and were entered into not guilty pleas.
Leer el documento otra vez.
Read
¿Va a poder entender el documento?
Claro que sí, me van a ayudar a que lo entienda.
Aispuro had some questions for the judge about his rights and at one point stated he was nervous about the media attention his case was getting, but the judge took a moment to assure him he is presumed innocent until proven guilty, regardless of who's watching. Authorities rescued more than 150 dogs and a handful of cats from his and Vargas's home back in April. A few of the dogs ended up dying. The men could face up to 6 months in jail and up to $1,000 in fines for each count if they're convicted or plead guilty. In Ogden, Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
So I would say the significance of 600 some odd counts, 1,000 total, is symbolic.
Mhm.
At some point, you just are sending a message, because it really, under Utah law, 10 is as bad as 600. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
Yeah.
judge isn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
going to stack 600
Right.
misdemeanors on top of each other. But if you have the counts, maybe the jurisdiction there just decided, look, the crime's occurred. We think we
Yeah.
can prove it. Let's file everything that we've got here. It does seem like I've never seen somebody charged with 633 misdemeanors, but it doesn't mean it's not legal.
I'm looking at how they got to that number. So both men faced 168 counts each, one for each animal, of cruelty to animals, and 168 counts of public nuisance. And then Salgado Vargas faced an additional 148 counts on failing to obtain a rabies vaccination for an animal, as well as maintaining an unlicensed animal, as well as a single count of maintaining a kennel without a permit.
So yeah, you've got a dog that you're not supposed to have, a dog without a license and a dog
Doesn't have
without
a rate.
vaccination.
That's right.
And so yeah, you've got
added up.
every dog
Mhm.
gets you 3 counts,
Mhm.
which makes perfect sense. And what I don't understand is this. I live in Ogden, but not up on the east side. What, the neighbors? You have 150 dogs. Like, there's got to be a little noise.
There were neighbor complaints, and I think that's what started the investigation, is that people were complaining about the smell and the noise. And one of the officers who showed up, they had to wear a gas mask. It was so bad. Another one other people put on hazmat suits. So actually, KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson set up the scene on what police found when they entered the home in April.
Police served a search warrant at the home with 157 dogs and 11 cats back in April after getting reports about the conditions there.
There's like 40 right here.
Once they enter, you see in the video dozens of Chihuahua-like dogs hopping around on stacked-up boxes and other junk that's accumulated in the house while the officers walk through. Officers complained about the smell, saying it was strong.
We're going to get our masks real quick.
Yeah, you have to wonder, there's no answer to this question, but what these men were thinking, what you're doing, because the pictures from the body cam, most of these animals are contained within the house. I mean, it's like, who sleeps, who breathes, who eats, how do you function in something like that?
Boy, I don't know. And again, I told you I've had an interest in hoarding. It was super inspiring to help me clean my house. There's actually a TV show called Hoarders, and as you go through that, you're like, oh my goodness. Right, but people will talk about how there's like a mental health component. I don't know that that's the case here, but it could be, right? Is maybe you start with one and it just grows from there, or you feel like, well, now it's out of control, and then it just keeps expanding. Like I don't know, but 168 animals in one house, it is just like I can't wrap my head around it.
If they were raising them as to sell, to breed, to make some money, I guess I could understand that, but you wouldn't have a brood
Not
like
that
that.
many.
You wouldn't have 157. I mean,
No.
there's something psychologically going on with these men that to
You
do
would
something
suspect
like that.
And it's interesting that they are pleading. To me, it's interesting that they're pleading not guilty. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to me to watch this unfold. But like, how can you plead not guilty to not vaccinating your animal? It's easy to prove one way or the other.
Sure, and a lot of crimes are. But let me just say this: the hearing that happened yesterday was a first appearance,
right?
And at the first appearance, it's not uncommon to just say not guilty. In
guilty.
other words, not ready to deal with the case, not ready to accept responsibility yet. The judge appoints them a public defender. The lawyer's going to sit down. They're going to sit down with the prosecuting attorney and say, look, how many do you really need? How many counts do you really need? And what's going to be the sanction? What's the appropriate punishment for something like this? I mean, and this isn't something like if you happen to not have your dog license up to
Right.
date, or your
Right.
dog, the
Right.
dog's running around the
Right.
neighborhood or something
Right.
like that.
Off leash or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing. They slap you upside the head and say, "Don't ever do that again." But they don't do that actually. But they when in a case like this, there's got to be a message. I mean, some judge is going to look at this very closely and say,
Yeah.
"You two people probably ought to serve a little time for something like this."
So, just a really quick question to wrap up. We this has been about 3 months since they removed the dogs from the home. What's the time frame from the first court appearance? Well, I mean, typically, what would you think?
This should go fairly quickly. It's a misdemeanor. It's in the misdemeanor court. They have, even though there's a number of counts, and they've just got appointed a public defender. I would expect them to be back in court sometime within the next maybe 30 to 60 days, and possibly a resolution by the end of the summer. But this is a case that should move on a fairly fast track because it's not. I mean, it's a serious crime, and if you're a dog lover, it's a very serious crime. But in terms of the criminal justice system, it's not up there with.
Right.
It's not a felony. We're
Right.
talking about misdemeanor counts
Right.
and mid-level misdemeanor counts.
Right.
I mean, just craziness. Let's get off dogs and come back after this.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. Well, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Free Alive After 5 concerts and movies at the plaza Wednesday and Friday nights. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. Keep it cool by checking out live tribute concerts like The Monkees, Elton John's The Rocket Man Show, and the Neil Diamond Experience. If theater is more your style, see the musical Bright Star, Broadway's The Prince of Egypt, or the classic comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. After all, Logan is Utah's heart of the arts. Fresh mountain air is only 10 minutes from your hotel. Enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon while you hike, mountain bike, picnic, fish, or sing yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs. Everything's cooler in Logan, and we've got a lot going on. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. explorelogan.com.
Learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more. And we are joined in studio by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team and Omada Real Estate. Russell, thanks for joining us today. And tell us, where's the real estate market right now?
Yeah, so I feel like a broken record a little bit. We are hedging towards the buyer's market, but we're still kind of in that flat market where, 60 days on market, you're still in the high sixes, low sevens in your interest rates. Sales are lower than what they've been in the past, but kind of the same as the last 2 years. So we really are just in a steady, balanced market right now.
So I'm interested with homeowners feeling like they're maybe frozen with their mortgage rates. What is making them choose to sell, right? People who have this really low interest rate.
Right. So, life happens. And so it doesn't care what your interest rate is. And so families still continue to grow, jobs, people get relocated. And so we are seeing it being a little bit of what we call a needs-based market. So people are, getting married, getting divorced, maybe someone's passing away, getting a job relocation. That's what we're seeing a lot of the transactions right now is that needs-based. So just when life happens.
And very quickly, if you got a 3% mortgage, isn't that some incentive maybe not to sell?
It is, and I think what we're seeing is a little bit of the pent-up demand as people are waiting and holding on. But with the amount of equity that most people have with that 3% interest rate, and then the opportunity to go in and negotiate because there's more inventory now, we're able to buy down that rate, pay down their balance. And so the move when we do the math with them actually isn't as big as what, isn't that big of a change.
Where can our listeners learn more about the Stern Team?
Yeah, so best place, sternteam.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. Holly, the courts just gave the Trump administration. It seems like every day we have the courts giving the Trump administration a win, the Trump administration a loss. We're watching the courts and the Trump administration all the time. This one deals with a medical debt clearance, or I can explain it in just a minute, on your credit record that was established during the Biden administration. And what it effectively did was this. It made it so that debt that you incurred for certain medical procedures, certain medical, I'll call them emergencies, would not affect your credit rating. And I think, Holly, the idea behind this is that it's not something that you incurred intentionally or sort of recklessly. It's not something that you should be punished for, because it was something usually you get these because you have some sort of emergency.
Right. And, one of the things that this rule would have done, and this is the rule put in place by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, it would have raised credit ratings by about 20 points if you didn't have to have medical debt. And so one of the things that's interesting to me about this is, like, why does the Trump administration want to put this back on? It's going to hamper people's ability to buy a house, for example. And as you pointed out, right, this medical debt is, I think, the top reason for bankruptcy in the United States. And if you just imagine, in Utah, we have a lot of babies here, and if you're younger, sometimes you're getting assistance with that baby, or maybe you have everything planned, but then you have an emergency arise. So if you have a premature baby, you can have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical bills. Well, when you're in your early 20s, right, how are you going to pay that off? And so then you have medical debt that accrues, and you have this hit on your credit report, and it's a little bit of a head scratcher to me, actually.
Right. And I think, and I don't mean to sound facetious, but to answer your question, why? Because Biden did it. I mean, I almost think sometimes that these Biden-era rules, and when we talk about things that Biden did, like the student loan forgiveness, this medical debt reporting, the courts have looked at that and said, did you really have the authority to do that? Well, Trump has these executive orders that he does, and the courts have said, well, you seem to have had the authority to do that. In this case, the Trump administration said Biden didn't have the authority to do that. A judge has agreed with the administration and has rolled that back. I mean, it may go up on appeal. Who knows where it's going to go from here? But the current administration may want to have their own input on that instead of just saying, well, Biden did it, so it must make sense.
Well,
I know that's a terrible answer.
Well, I think there's probably a lot of truth there, but it's interesting because the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was actually set up. It was set up after the 2008 financial crisis. Remember, we had the big recession, the Great Recession there, and we had the housing market collapsed. But anyway, it was set up by Congress in 2008 to monitor credit card companies, mortgage providers, debt collectors, etc. But earlier this year, the Trump administration requested that the agency basically halt all its operations and just shut down. And so, I mean, if you're not going to have a financial bureau, right, the one of the problems here is it would have removed about $49 billion in medical debt from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. So it's really 1 in 5 Americans have at least one medical debt collection account on their credit reports. But the problem disproportionately affects people of color.
Right. And let's be clear. It doesn't, and you were clear just a moment ago, it doesn't remove $50 billion in medical debt. It removes it from their credit report. And that's exactly what you said. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Right.
So when you go and get your credit report, if you have medical debt, it's obviously a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that affects different groups of people in disproportionate ways, apparently.
That's right.
And maybe the prior administration felt like that was unfair and shouldn't go on their credit record, even though it's a debt. I think the current administration says the idea would be if it's debt, it's debt, and we shouldn't distinguish between one form of debt and another. If a person's credit is bad because they have debt, maybe a lender should have the right to know about that.
It's just, yes, I agreed. And it's just so interesting to me that they want to shut down the entire agency. In fact, it happened in February. The Russell, is it Vought? He's the Office of Management and Budget guy. He's just like, we're shutting down the agency and we're shuttering the building. And it's been a target of conservatives since it came into existence because it came under a Democratic president, Barack Obama. Right. It was intended to protect consumers, but this administration wants it completely closed.
You know, and it's sad, Holly, in this day and age when we talk about these, a judge issues a ruling supporting something or not supporting something. The first line from the article, U.S. District Judge Sean Jordan, a 2019 appointee of President Donald Trump, made this rule. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
for some reason, they felt that it was important to say that the judge that threw out the Biden order was appointed by President Donald Trump in 2019. I mean, I guess the lawyer in me for 43 years is like, a judge is a judge. I don't know who appoints them. I don't know that I care necessarily who appoints them, but it seems to be something that we're interested in more than we have been in the past.
And I would say nationally, when you just talked about the whiplash between a federal judge said this about and allows the Trump administration to this, and another one says you can't do that. I think almost all the stories now include who appointed them, right? And I think it's interesting information.
I guess so. You know, in Utah, we don't have the problem,
right?
Because no judge has been appointed by a Democrat that is currently sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I say they're probably not still alive. If
Right.
they
Yeah.
were.
Right. Yeah. So nobody can say, well, this judge was appointed by a Democrat.
Right.
We hear our legislature complaining about judges once in a while here in Utah, and they don't get to make that argument because a Republican governor appointed every one of them, and a Republican Senate confirmed every one of them. But I digress. In this case, we do say that it is important to know that this judge said that the rule by the previous administration exceeded the authority that they had under this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah, part of the process for passing rules like this is that there has to be a period of public comment. This is not something that they just, implemented in the dark. There's a time frame. You've got to have input. You have to make it public. You're going to have people on the Hill weigh in or not weigh in, right? And it's interesting, we're talking about wins and losses maybe in the courts, but a federal judge in March blocked the Trump administration from dismantling the CFPB, but it's still like every time you strip more out, right, it becomes effectively dismantling, even if it's not total, kind of like the Department of Education, right? It's not technically dismantled, but they're getting rid of half of all the employees that they have.
Don't dismantle them, just take their funds away,
right?
and let them see what they need to do. Right. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Anyway, I mean, one of the few remaining remnants of the Biden administration, perhaps. Who knows where that will go?
Maybe.
And like you said, the Trump administration actually was trying to do away with the Bureau altogether.
Yeah.
It stands, but its authority to do this particular act, which is allow a person with significant medical debt to not have that show up on their credit report is no longer allowed.
Right. Or any medical debt. And here's another question that I wonder. I wonder with the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill and the Medicaid cuts in there, and we know that there's something like 12 million Americans that will lose health care because of the changes and the cutting of funds that have come through that. Is this going to dramatically increase the number of people who have medical debt on their credit report from 20% to a higher number? I would suggest it probably will.
Yeah, and it's sad that medical debt becomes so critical to so many people. And again, we don't want to talk about insurance or Medicaid or Medicare or certain things that would reduce medical debt. I mean, it's just a fact of life that so many people are and like you said earlier, a person who has a premature child or something and
hundreds of thousands of dollars or more.
You can have something right out of the chute before you even get the kid into daycare. I mean, it's tragic where we are with medical debt, but it's debt, and the administration has won its argument to say if you have debt, it should show up on your record. It's prime time right now to get out on the water for summer fun with a family. But Holly, if you saw someone struggling in the water, would you know how to rescue them without putting yourself at risk? We'll learn more from the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation next.
30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Several homes in Holiday have been impacted by a massive mudslide. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more from the neighborhood just northeast of Knudson's Corner.
You can see this massive divot, almost like a scar on the hillside, with a ton of mud that just piled all the way down to these 3 homes sitting below this steep private driveway. Authorities are saying a water line at the top of the hill here broke and caused all this mud to form and slide down. We're told 2 of the homes sustained minor exterior damage. The other got a ton of mud in its basement, but thankfully nobody was hurt.
The water was turned off, but there's still a huge mess to clean up. A Sandy woman will spend at least 15 years in prison after she was found guilty of intentionally setting her apartment building on fire 2 years ago in an attempt to go viral. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Happening this hour, President Trump is meeting with the Prime Minister of Bahrain in the Oval Office. But reporters also question President Trump about reports saying he's going to try and fire Fed Chairman Jerome Powell.
So he's doing a lousy job, but no, I'm not talking about that. Fortunately, we get to make a change in the next, 8 months or so. And we'll pick somebody that's good, and we'll pick somebody. I just want a fair job. We want to see lower interest rates. Our country deserves it.
The president says there's a lot of good people he can pick from to replace Powell at the end of Powell's term. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 12 points, basically flat, but it's up 12 points, so it is slightly in the positive at 44,035. Coming up, not as hot today as yesterday, but it'll still be above 90 degrees. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It's time to hit the road and make this your summer of freedom with Motorsportsland's RV summer deals happening right now. Save thousands on the RV you've always wanted and get away in style, comfort, and luxury. Whether you're chasing sunsets or campfire nights, we've got the perfect trailer to get you there. If you're sitting at another dealer to make a deal and suddenly they're adding thousands for freight, prep, or orientation, that's your cue to run away and come to Motorsportsland, where what you see is what you pay. Our prices are real. No hidden charges, no gimmicks, and no pressure. We're a family-owned, local Utah dealership that's been helping people just like you get away for over 55 years. Plus, we offer flexible financing, expert service, and free training with every RV we sell. Adventure's calling, so don't miss your chance. Come in today and let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
So we continue to watch Utah housing market, and we're lucky to be joined in studio by Russell Fawcett, the owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. I have a question for you. People have been using this phrase, marry the house and date the rate. Can you explain that and how that applies in Utah?
Yeah, so it is a common phrase that we're hearing right now, and I do want to say, use a little bit of caution with that as well. So the idea is that you're going to buy a home with the intent of, eventually being able to refinance into a lower rate when interest rates go down, which is a good concept. But I want people to make sure when they're going in that they are comfortable with the payment they have today, because they've been predicting interest rates to go down for 3 years now. And so just like a marriage, make sure you're good and you're not going into it with the expectation that someone's going to change or the rate's going to change, right? But it is an opportunity to lock in your payment today, and actually when and if interest rates go down, you can take advantage and refinance, because when those interest rates go down, I promise you prices are going to go up.
Russell, affordability is a big concern right now, especially for first-time home buyers in Utah. What is the Stern team doing to guide first-time home buyers through the process?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is education and helping them understand what it's going to take to buy a home and prep, save for the down payments. But then the other thing is we make sure that we are up to date with all the grants, all the programs, everything that would be available to a first-time home buyer that might help them offset the payment or the down payment requirement.
Learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Let's check in with Heather Kelly.
Well, for the first time all morning long, we are pretty much back at freeway speeds anywhere you're trying to get to. Northbound I-15 from Spanish Fork into Salt Lake, coming out of Tooele County, going into Summit County. The only teeny bit of slowing we have is southbound I-15 in the Farmington area, where we have the right lane restricted right now. That happens every day. But other than that, you're going to be at good speeds throughout Weber and Davis County, no matter what roadway or direction you're heading. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, Salt Lake should see a high today of 94 degrees, but then back up to 98 on Thursday. Then chances for pop-up thunderstorms increase as we head towards the weekend. Right now, it is partly cloudy and 82 degrees in Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to New Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. You can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. It's prime time right now to get out on the water for summer fun. I drive by a couple reservoirs on my way home from work every day, Holly. If you saw somebody struggling in water, would you know what to do?
I think my first instinct would be to just jump in and try and help. But I've even had experience with kids in a swimming pool where the water is semi-deep for me, but when they feel desperate, like it feels like they're just going to claw you and try and push you under. And so I don't know if I would know how to do it safely.
Yeah, that's actually what happened recently. There's been a tragedy in Utah, one of our reservoirs on Saturday night. A man died after trying to help a 12-year-old girl as she drifted further from the shore on an inflatable tube. I think he was on one of those...
a paddleboard.
A paddleboard. Yeah. So you would think that would have provided some flotation for him personally, but when somebody's grabbing at you or pulling at you, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen.
So my understanding of this situation, and it was down in Utah County up American Fork Canyon by where I live, is that he actually jumped off the paddleboard to help her because she was struggling in the water. And then he was able to get her up on top of a flotation device, but he wasn't able to save himself, unfortunately.
I've got a little kayak, and I take it out on the reservoir once in a while. It's a goofy thing my wife bought me that you pedal and you can travel around, and it's a lot of fun. But I've had a ski boat come by me and flipped me over, and it was a little disconcerting. I mean, I can swim, and I feel like I can swim, and the paddleboard was there my kayak was upside down, so I could sort of grab onto it. But I was a long way from the shore, and I just remember thinking, first of all, nobody stopped. Nobody was there. It wasn't like I was screaming or anything, but I was glad I was a swimmer. And since then, I started actually having my life jacket close to me instead of tied to the front of the kayak.
I think on you might be a better choice.
I know. I actually went to a fishing store where they sold a fishing vest that had some flotation things built into it. We have with us Ty Hunter, Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation Boating Program Manager. Ty, sorry, I've been yakking too long here. What can you tell our listeners about what to do if they see somebody struggling in the water?
Well, the biggest thing is it's the age-old rescue piece. It is the reach. If you can reach them with something, you reach them. If you can throw something to them, a line, an extension cord, whatever else, whatever you can kind of figure out with that, you do a throw to try to bring them in, and then you do a row with this. So in this case is row out, but then the last one is a go, and it's a go only if you have the proper devices. So let me review back on this, and especially with this incident occurred at Silver Lake. With this is we're seeing a rash within a rash of incidents that have occurred since April. We've now got 3 paddlecraft users, and what I mean by that is anything that's human powered. They have lost their lives this year, and we have one personal watercraft operator that lost his life this year too. So we're at 4, and every one of these could have been prevented by wearing a life jacket. So to go back to this rescue piece, if you're going to row out, you take that extra moment, take care of yourself, put that life jacket on, because we don't want to be in the circumstance that kind of unfolded last Saturday with that. And then in the go sense, if you were in the water, you're swimming out to them, you have that life jacket. You take care of yourself with that, because if you don't wear a life jacket going out and taking care of yourself, you're going to multiply the number of people that may be in trouble.
Can you speak to us briefly about why is it that it seems maybe more dangerous to try and jump in the water to rescue somebody who's struggling rather than just, you're in the water with your friend or whatever? Why is that situation increase the danger?
Just anytime when somebody's in trouble, they are panicking. They're trying to take care of themselves, and so therefore that's that extra danger you have there. When we're talking about open water, this is a lot different than a pool. You're dealing with different water temperatures with this. I was trying to get the water temperature for Silver Lake. Surface temperature was probably a little bit warmer, but it was about 50, 55 degrees in that. Great for a warm, sunny day, very refreshing, but that will hurt you over a little period of time of what you can and cannot do.
Ty, are most of our injuries or deaths related to big open waters, or do we have a significant amount in our rivers and streams?
We have not had any this year that we've had. Boating related, what I'm going to say with this one here. You're going to catch me with this one. I'm not sure on all the total number of rivers and streams. Boating related with our rivers, we have not had any this year.
So what can you recommend for general water safety? So if I'm going to take my family, I'm going to go up to Canyon, and we're going to maybe be, on the edge of the water. That's our plan, right? We're not going to go super deep. We feel like we've got things under control. What are general water safety rules besides the life jacket that I should be aware of as a mom?
As a mom, I would say that you always have a pair of eyes on whomever is in the water. That's whether they're adult, they're teenagers, they're young folks that are out there. Your children. You have a water watcher. That person does not have a phone around them. They are focusing. They're not focusing on that screen in front of them. That's put away, and they are focusing on those individuals that are in the water. We've had circumstances that have been on the shorelines where kids are tiptoeing out, and then the next thing we know, they're gone, and we're in that phase of trying to find out where that child there.
Sounds like we've got a bad connection with you, Ty. That was Ty Hunter, Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation Boating Program. I wanted to ask him what the biggest mistake boat owners make these days with respect to safety, because there are rules in place, Holly, and I had a boat for many years, and it was the greatest. We loved it. When my kids left, I didn't it's not that fun when you're by yourself just hanging out. But you go to the boating supply store and you buy life jackets, and you have to have certain things in the boat. You have to have something you can toss from the boat for people that are in the water. And of course, I overthought this because as a parent, you think not my kid, they're not going to get hurt. So everybody wore a life jacket, and everybody, of course, when you're skiing, you want to have that so you can manipulate and get the ski on and do what you need to do. And if you fall and you bonk your head for a second, you're not going to go under. And I would say this: the people that were the government authorities that were out on the water, the wildlife resources people or outdoor people that came to us and talked to us were generally very positive and just said, hey, we just want to check and make sure you're doing everything right. We just want to check and make sure you've got everything on your boat that you need to have. We want to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing. And sometimes we weren't. And sometimes, you're going too close to another boat, or you're in a wakeless area or something like that. But boy, when they pull up to you and your kids are all wearing a life jacket, you realize you're doing something right.
Yeah. I would just say I think probably the biggest danger, and I don't know this as a fact, but is drinking and boating, right?
Yeah, and I want to say this as a lawyer. People don't realize a boat is a motor vehicle.
Yep.
And just like a car.
DUI.
And people think, I'm out boating, I want to drink, I have a beer, 2 or 3, and it is the same as driving a car. So, and they can, the wildlife people can watch you drink on your boat. It's not like you got windows and covering you up, but yeah, the driving under the influence of a boat is the same as driving under the influence of a car. Next on Inside Sources, we'll hear more from the Stern team of Amada Real Estate about getting past the fear of buying due to high interest rates. Next.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
As we continue to watch Utah's housing market, we're joined again by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. Russell, what can you tell our listeners about how to get the most dollar for their house? What do you tell them about setting the price, making sure that it's a price that they're going to get, especially with today's higher interest rates?
Right. So there's a couple strategies that we look at when we're pricing a home. So in this market, the homes that are selling, we say you need to be the top 10% as far as top 10% in price, meaning you're, the lowest 10%, and also the top 10% in condition if you want to sell your home. And so a lot of people they want to test the market right now. It's like, well, if I can get this, I'll sell it for this, or, let's start here and we can always lower the price. But the danger in testing the market is as soon as you start sitting, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 60 days, people start asking what's wrong with your home. And so we want to make sure when we're pricing your home, again, that we're going to look at how many homes are selling and making sure that our home is going to be one of the ones that sell.
So my question is about people who are currently renting, actually. And if you're looking at, again, this might be your first home purchase, or maybe you had one and for some reason now you're renting, but you're looking at buying again. Do you think it's worth it for people to think about buying now, or should they just stay in the renter's market?
Yeah, so again, we talked about this a little bit, but buying a home is the only way to essentially lock in the price of what you're paying for housing. And so there are circumstances right now where it is cheaper to rent than to buy if you don't have a down payment. But the thing is, if you look historically, the cost of renting is going up 3% per year. So your landlord is going to raise your rate. Your mortgage next year isn't going to go up. And then if we look at, the average time someone owns a home is 7 to 10 years. So after that period, your rent's going to be a lot more than what your mortgage would be today. So yes, we encourage people to lock in their price, and then during that time they're going to gain equity as well.
What do you wish every first-time buyer knew before they started shopping for a home?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I wish they would take the time to get an education about buying the home. I think what we see a lot of the time is people, when they start thinking about, okay, it's time to buy a home, the first thing you do is you start shopping. And so they'll go out and they'll fall in love with a home, and it may not be one they can afford. And that's one of the tough things you have to overcome then is it's like, no, as a first-time home buyer, you might need to start in a condo or a townhome or maybe a small bungalow versus, a larger home. And so if we're able to start with, let's talk with the lender first, let's find out what you can qualify for, let's practice making the payment. That's a big thing of like when your payment's going to jump up, maybe even double from what you're used to paying in rent. Even though you can qualify for it, sometimes you still have to adjust your lifestyle. And so I would say let's practice making that payment for 6 months to a year while we start shopping, understanding what you're looking for. So just a little bit more preparation, I think, would go a long ways in people feeling comfortable actually buying a home.
Tell our listeners where they can find you on the web.
Yeah, so the best place, just go to our website at www.sternteam.com, or you can always Google the Stern Team.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
And we're joined in studio by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team at Omada Real Estate. Russell, talk to us some more about first-time home buyers. And let me ask you a question. If you're a first-time home buyer, if you've got clients who are first-time home buyers, how many homes do you expect them to want to look at?
Yeah, so really it depends. So we do what we call a dating day. And so we look at kind of, where do you feel comfortable? What's the top end of what you can be approved for? And then, playing a little bit of HGTV, let's look at some homes that need some repairs and see if you'd be comfortable saving some money and putting in some sweat equity. And so with the first time out, we typically will look at, 3 to 5 homes and really narrow in their criteria because honestly, it's a waste of everyone's time if you're going out and like just shotgunning everything. I want to see every home that's on the market when your top 5 criteria is I have to have a 2-car garage. I'm non-negotiable on a 2-car garage, or we need 2 bathrooms. I'm non-negotiable on that. And so, why go look at something if you're just going to say no? But at the same time, if we've been out a couple times and we're just not able to find what you're looking for in the price range you're looking for, then we do have to sit down and adjust the criteria a little bit and say, what are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to have a 1-car garage, or are we willing to look at townhomes instead of single-family homes?
I think it's interesting, the analogy of dating, right, a dating day. And we talked during one of our breaks about marrying the house and dating the rate. But we also mentioned that you have people who almost get the process backwards when they're thinking of buying their first home. They decide on a specific home first instead of dating the homes. So talk about marrying the house, dating the rate, and how that all goes together.
Yeah. So again, with that, I'm still going to say make sure you're comfortable with the rate today and the payment you're paying. But a lot of the times what we find, again, it's human nature to go out. Maybe you're driving around on a Saturday, you see an open house sign, you stop in and you fall in love with the home. And then the risk with that as well, especially if it's a well-priced home, we are still seeing some multiple offers. And if you're not ready with your pre-approval, if you've never met with a lender, there's a good chance you're going to miss out on that. And so it's just really important that you start the process with getting educated, meeting with a lender, and then making sure you're taking the time to say, okay, this is my budget, and that means I can afford this home, and let's look there. Because honestly, nothing worse is falling in love with something you can't afford.
You mentioned earlier that you have buyers who have what you call their top 5 criteria. Maybe they want a 2 or 3 car garage. Maybe they need so many full baths. I've always thought the top 3 criteria were location, location, location.
Correct.
How important is that? I mean, looking back, just in your experience with buyers, how important does that end up being as a criteria?
So it's very important. Location is the number one factor that determines value. So, I mean, in the Valley, you can take something on the East Bench or something on the West Side, and they're going to be, you could have the exact same home, and they're going to be priced completely different. But that's where we go into with the first-time home buyer, right? Of like, hey, I know that your goal eventually is to live in the Avenues. But hey, Rose Park is about the same commute to where you work, so let's start there. Let's gain some equity, and eventually you can move into your dream home or your dream location. And so it really is setting the expectation of, I think, really we've experienced a little bit of, we want instant gratification. We want it now. Interest rates were so low for so long, you could go buy whatever car you wanted. You could finance your furniture, whatever it was, because you could draw out that payment forever. And so now we're readjusting, we're resetting kind of our mentality of let's be fiscally responsible. And one thing I will say, though, the younger generation coming up, they have a different mindset. Like, there are more people that have down payments and they've been saving and they're looking at buying a duplex because they're going to house hack, they're going to rent the other side. So I will say a lot of our first-time home buyers in the younger generation, they're smart.
That's interesting. Let's switch a little bit to people our age, maybe more. For anybody who's listening who might feel stuck, right? They're not sure whether they should sell or whether they should buy, right? Because we have this good interest rate. What can you tell us about people like us who are saying, look, we're in our house, we were thinking about selling, but I don't know.
Yeah. So again, the best thing is to say, what are your future plans, right? So an article came out this last week that I saw that is predicting that the median household price by 2030 in Salt Lake will be at $1 million.
Wow.
And so it's like, yeah, you can go ahead and continue to wait to buy your next home or your dream home, but understand that if interest rates go down or when they go down, we have a lot of pent-up demand. We're still predicted to be we are one of the fastest growing states in the country. We're still going to continue to grow. You know, we talked about last week about being, the number one state in a lot of categories. So our growth is going to continue to be there. We're still going to have people come in. Prices are still going to go up. And so if you're waiting for prices to come down, for payments to come down, more than likely it's not going to happen. And if it does, it's going to be a blip in time.
And I know that downsizing is a personal decision, Russell, but when you're talking to people like myself or Holly, at least for me, we're empty nesters now. We have a bigger house than we need. Yep. What advice do you give them about downsizing? Or does that make sense? Let's say you have a house and you don't have a mortgage anymore, but it's more house than you need.
Yeah. So again, that's one of those that I'd probably go, again, do a dating day with you and say, okay, if we were going to go just cash for cash, we're going to sell this home and go to somewhere else if you're okay putting all of it into a home. Sometimes we're downsizing so that we can have a little bit more money in retirement that we can put in the stock market or somewhere else and make some of that equity that you have actually work for you in retirement. And so we have to look at all of the things, not just house to house, but what else do you need? Because if you've gained, $1 million in equity and you're okay living in a $500,000 home because you're okay downsizing, now we can put the other $500,000 to work for you in retirement, and that may be something that you want to look at.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's a really interesting time, I think, in the housing market. And one of the things that strikes me, Greg and I both purchased homes with much higher interest rates. Mine was in the teens. His was like 11% or something. And so I look at a 6 or 7% rate and say, that's not that bad.
Right.
That's not that bad. So it does make people, I think, we have short-term memory, right? We look back and say, oh, well, it used to be so good. This may be where it sits.
Yeah, these might be the good old days.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
It is, and this is normal, right? And if inflation, if it goes up, we've seen that's how we battle inflation, is they're going to raise the rate even more. And so even in recent, within the last 2 years, we've seen interest rates at 8%. We're not at 8% today.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go up. 6, honestly, is normal. To get down to 3, that took a global pandemic that, I've only seen that once in my lifetime. So, in a 40, 50-year period, or if we even look back even further, 3%'s only happened once.
Yep. Yeah. You can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting thesternteam.com and find out more.
Up next, our workplace snacks might be endangered due to a new tax law.
No.
Details after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jessica Lowell. KSL's top story this hour is KSL News Radio. A firefighter working on the Forsyth fire in southern Utah was taken to the hospital after falling. Dameron Valley Fire and Rescue says the firefighter was taken to the St. George Regional Hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Some Republicans in Congress are joining with Democrats demanding transparency regarding the so-called Epstein files. Meantime, President Trump is standing by the Attorney General's decision to keep them sealed. More from ABC's Karen Travers.
Even while he's saying the Attorney General has handled this very well, he says it's up to her whether she should decide to release more credible information. So he's somewhat putting pressure on her, putting it back in her court, back at DOJ, for some of these supporters who are demanding more answers and demanding the release of more files. He's saying it's up to her to decide what to do next.
These files allegedly contain lists of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. And your money at this moment, the Dow up 71 points, NASDAQ up 9. Coming up a tiny bit cooler today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
5 guys walk into a JCW's and order burgers. A pastrami, a mushroom Swiss, a guacamole bacon, a hickory barbecue, a ribeye steak, 2 onion rings, 3 french fries, a strawberry, mint, peanut butter, chocolate, and marshmallow shake, and not one left to tip. Because at JCW's, we don't ask for it. We think the price you see should be the price you pay. And all that, would you like to leave a tip stuff, is for the birds. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it. Open in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman.
Register for Jazz Youth Camps and Clinics. Brought to you by PB Fit. Whether you're a beginner interested in learning basketball basics or an advanced player wanting to hone your skills and techniques, there's a camp for you. Let's go! All kids ages 4 to 17 are welcome. You'll get the chance to learn directly from Utah Jazz Camps and Clinics coaches and jazz personalities at select camps at various locations throughout Utah. Even the Jazz practice facility. If you love the Jazz and the game of basketball, this is an opportunity you can't miss out on. Register for your spot now at jazzyouth.com.
Everybody knows that exterior remodeling salespeople are all about the high-pressure sell. Am I right? Windows, siding, gutters, those suckers are going to twist your arm and get you to buy, or they won't leave your house at night. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I want you to know we don't have high-pressure sells. In fact, we don't even have salespeople. Nope, we have estimators. That's a huge difference. Estimators are trained to look at the entire scope of the project to see and know if there are any problems like rotten wood, wood-borne insects, or construction issues specific to your house or your neighbors. Salespeople are more concerned about playing those silly price games. Buy one, get one free, sign today and get 40% off, as if they didn't just jack the price up to give you a fake discount. RGS Exteriors estimators are going to give you a great quote. No games, no tricks, no nonsense. Call RGS Exteriors to quote your exterior project. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Just mix a packet of Eucora with water and drink it when you need support, like right after intimacy. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
Traffic and Weather Together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a crash in Clearfield. This is on 700 South. That's SR 193 westbound right at the ramps from I-15. So all of your westbound lanes are completely closed right now, and that has traffic backed up to University Park Boulevard, trying to head over to the freeway. Then if you're trying to exit northbound I-15 onto 700 South, you will not be able to do that. That ramp is closed and blocked right now, and we already have traffic stuck on that ramp. So just be aware you're going to need to use an alternate route there. The good news is we don't have a lot of delay anywhere else across the Wasatch Front. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com, affordable windows guaranteed. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Some storms in central and southern Utah will mostly stay dry along the Wasatch Front, but a chance of some storms in Utah County. A high of 94 degrees today. Right now it's 85 and fair. I'm Jessica Lowell from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com or Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Holly, do you like snacks in the office?
Yes.
Do you expect snacks in the office?
It just seems like the norm, yes.
And what do you specifically like?
I actually, when I'm looking for a snack, I want something that has some protein. So I like cheese sticks. I like granola bars. And then I am looking for caffeine. And so for me, that's like a soda.
There you go. So starting in 2026, businesses won't be able to deduct the cost of company cafeterias and certain food and beverage perks for workers. What's up with that? I mean, we can't just write off snacks anymore?
I'm thinking of bringing homeware into the store, so that's a write-off.
That's a write-off?
Yeah.
Do you even know what a write-off is?
Yeah. It's when you buy something for your business and the government pays you back for it.
Oh, and who pays for it?
Nobody. You write it off.
Who writes it off?
I don't know. The write-off people. What? Why are we having this conversation?
That's a good question. See, I didn't know you could write it off. I've always provided my employees snacks, and I didn't realize that I could write it off. Too late now, because moving forward, I'm not going to be able to anyway.
Look, so here's one of the things that immediately stands out to me is the federal government says, well, look, U.S. businesses will just pay that extra money in taxes, so more money for the federal government. No. I think what's going to happen is the businesses stop providing that as a perk.
Yeah, that's probably true. And you know, employees have it is a perk, and it is something. I don't even think it's that expensive. It certainly isn't in our law office. And I hear at the studio you see snacks and things like that the people bring in and whatnot. And it's always nice. And I mean, I don't even understand why we're doing this. I mean, of all things, we're writing off tax on tips, we're writing off certain tax, but we're not giving businesses a break for something as simple as providing their employees with snacks and certain cafeteria items, to make their workday a little more comfortable. An employer ought to be able to do that. They absolutely should have that right.
Part of the big, beautiful bill.
There you go.
It really is. And
is
so,
it?
Yeah, it is. And they wanted to extend the tax cuts from 2017. Remember Donald Trump's tax cuts? They were set to expire. So accountants had expected lawmakers to retain this workplace meal deduction, but no. The House changed it so it's restaurants only, not regular businesses.
It's funny. We're learning more and more about things that were part of the one big, beautiful bill.
That's right.
And things that I don't know that people even expected. I mean, who was in the back room when this one was thought up? You know what I mean? Well, let's do away with breaks for employers for getting items for their employees, certain perks and things like that. I mean,
well, look,
what mind was behind that?
Well, there are conservative think tanks that think this is a good idea. So the Washington Post has an article on this, and they quote a tax foundation analyst who says that under the current rules, a company-paid lunch is essentially a form of tax-free income. And if it's not the employee paying tax, well, the company should.
Yeah. Is there a fiscal note? I mean, is there something that where we're expecting that there'll be so much more money paid into our tax coffers?
$300 million. But again, if employers decide, well, I'm not going to provide that perk anymore, then they will not see $300 million.
You don't get the $300 million. You just don't get your perks.
That's right. Both. But the federal government doesn't get the $300 million, and employees don't get the perks.
My guess is employers will continue, for the most part, doing that and just eat the tax problems. And so that the kids, happy employees are better employees. And if you pay a little extra to do that.
Look, I don't know that any employee is going to make a decision to quit if they don't have snacks at work. But I do want to remind you, our listeners, that back in the .com days, the .com bubble days, those tech employers, they had everything from like ping pong, and not only did they have snacks, but they had cafeterias. The meals were free. You could go eat whatever you want, whenever you wanted, right? Free flowing caffeine, coffee, soda, whatever, right? And my husband actually started work long time ago up in Washington State with Microsoft, and that was back in the early days. They were already successful, but they were still on the upslope. And I'm telling you, he could have whatever he wanted.
And just to be clear, employers can still provide these items for their employees. Yeah. They can still have certain food items. They can still have cafeterias. They can still do everything that they're currently doing. They just don't get the tax deduction for doing that.
For the food.
Yep. In hopes that that deduction will increase some $300 million in our annual coffers for employees that were writing it off in the past.
For trillions, that's pennies. I mean, that's basically sofa change to the federal government.
But it's something, it's just another example of things that were written into the bill that we've looked at to try to bring more money into not to the economy, but to bring more tax revenue in and other sources that can help us while we're writing other things off. And, this one does seem a little odd. Attacking businesses, or not attacking them, but punishing businesses,
right,
making it less viable for them to want to provide these kind of services to their employees.
And remember, this was a 900-something page bill, right? And so we saw some of the things that hit the news in big ways, and now we're seeing, like you mentioned, here's some other things like, employers, if you're an employer out there, you may not be able to deduct this. And it sounds like, it's written into law, so that deduction starts in January.
Imagine how I feel. I've been doing it for 30 years.
Not knowing.
30 years and never knew that it was a tax.
Do you do your own taxes, or do you hire somebody?
I hire somebody.
Okay, well then they should have known this. So.
Well, I don't know that they ever asked. I don't know how much it would have saved me over the years, but I guess something.
Yeah.
You buy it with the
look. Some of it is job enjoyment, right, or job engagement, and it's one of the things that's super interesting about maybe the younger generation. They want to find purpose at work. And I'm not saying that there's necessarily these food perks that make the difference, but if they don't feel like they're engaged in work that is personally satisfying, they're going to bounce, they're going to jump, and they're going to go someplace else. And, The Global Engagement Work Survey, I think Gallup Poll does it. They are finding just a decrease over and over and over of people who feel actually engaged and really enjoying and engaging in their work. Most people are disconnected, and some people are doing what they call quiet quitting. It's like your body's there, but you're like looking for other jobs, or your brain is on vacation, whatever it is, right? But there's quiet quitting, and sometimes there's quiet firing where people are like, I can't really fire you, but I hope I can make your life so miserable you just quit.
Yeah.
Like Jerome Powell right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And I do remember when I worked at the district attorney's office that we had the cafeteria, the snack room, and of course the government didn't buy us anything. But it was a place to congregate. It was a place where people talked, because otherwise we all had our own offices, we all had our own sections, and we didn't communicate or get together. But that was a place where people did, and it was for no other reason than just to fill your coffee cup or to get a snack or something like that.
It's that water cooler talk, right?
Exactly.
That people will say that's one of the advantages to coming to work in person. You don't get the water cooler conversations when you're working remotely. You can still do and be effective, right? But it's those water cooler conversations and being able to have relationships and friendships at work as well.
So the one big beautiful bill, another thing we've learned about it today is that starting in 2026, business owners, you will not be able to deduct the cost of your company cafeterias and certain other food and beverage perks for your workers anymore starting next year.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
You would think that there were certain things that were written into the big beautiful bill that would happen after midterms. They sort of intentionally.
A lot of them. You are correct. This one starts in January, but a lot of them do not take place until after the midterms or even after the Trump presidency is over.
So buy now, employers. Stock up. Get to the store and buy your stuff. President Trump is taking to social media, saying he does not want the support of his weakling supporters because of all the questions he's getting about the Epstein files. Let's get into the MAGA backlash after the break.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. Well, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Free Alive After 5 concerts and movies at the plaza Wednesday and Friday nights. Check out the calendar at ExploreLogan.com. Keep it cool by checking out live tribute concerts like The Monkees, Elton John's The Rocket Man Show, and the Neil Diamond Experience. If theater is more your style, see the musical Bright Star, Broadway's The Prince of Egypt, or the classic comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. After all, Logan is Utah's heart of the arts. Fresh mountain air is only 10 minutes from your hotel. Enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon while you hike, mountain bike, picnic, fish, or sing yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs. Everything's cooler in Logan, and we've got a lot going on. Check out the calendar at ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
You probably saved my life.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight and keep it off.
I mean, I was 30 pounds overweight, and I went in, and the doctor said, you need to change your diet.
Get help and get started with Soda Weight Loss.
Got off my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, and that is amazing to me.
I went from a 16, 18 down to a size 4 now. So that is amazing. It makes you feel so good.
Splash into summer savings right now with Soda's lowest prices of the year.
No injections, no pills, no hunger.
I would recommend Soda because it's sustainable. This is lifetime change.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal.
We're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and results. And with our incredible summer savings, what are you waiting for?
Get help, get results at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
This has got to be a subject that President Trump just wishes would go away, because
now
he's
he does.
really not happy, because a lot of his supporters also want some transparency. And, of course, we're talking about the Epstein files. Trump has posted on Truth Social, quote, "Let the weaklings come forward, and I don't want their support anymore." What he's talking about, Holly, are people, even from his own party, who are saying, let's release the files.
You know what is so interesting about this is of all the things that have happened and come out and all of the different approaches, that it is Jeffrey Epstein that is dividing his base. And there are some, they are really mad.
Yeah, there are. And a bipartisan bill is trying to make its way into a vote with the House. Speaker Mike Johnson actually has said that he wants Attorney General Pam Bondi to explain her position at why she's keeping the files sealed. President Trump, of course, is standing behind Bondi, despite having said earlier that the files should be released. Here's ABC's Karen Travers.
He doesn't want to talk about this and has pushed back anytime questions have been asked about this. And it goes back to last week when he was in a cabinet meeting and a reporter asked about this, and he indicated he was surprised that the question was even coming up. But since then, his supporters have not let this go, some of his most strong supporters. And now you're hearing those calls even from some members of Congress. And yesterday, the president said that he doesn't understand why people are so interested in this.
I could tell you why. He promoted this while he was candidate Trump. We need to release the Epstein files. Release them immediately. Donald Trump Jr., why would we not release these files? We demand that they be released, right?
Right.
So if you promote a conspiracy theory, and I would say there's probably a lot of truth there, actually, but it's coming around to bite him now, because people were like, yeah, we got to get this out, right? And now, in fact, that Truth Social post you referenced, he called it a scam. Right. And he said, my past supporters have bought into this. But we're talking about people like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and, like you said, Speaker Mike Johnson, who has been lockstep with President Trump. And now he's saying, we need to have some accountability here.
Yeah. Today in the Oval Office, the president was critical of those Republicans who are calling for this investigation.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
So again, I'm sure Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to be that impressed by being called a stupid Republican who bought into a Democratic hoax.
And it seems like this is one of those situations. This doesn't seem like a hill that the president wants to die on. I mean, get it out there, release it. I know. But the more you complain, the more you fight it, the more it is that people want to see it. And at some point, they are going to see it. If it's not under this administration, it will certainly be under one in the future. But those records are there. They're going to be embarrassing. I don't know how embarrassing they are. They may be embarrassing to a lot more people than just the president.
Right.
Because there are several names. Maybe there are a lot of people that are shaking in their boots right now saying, please don't release it because of the aura that surrounds that whole Epstein adventure.
Right. And, this is a situation that's totally ripe for a number of conspiracies, but we have we had all of the conversation during the ramp up to the last election, and President Biden's like, I'm going to release it, and Trump is like, we need to see it released. And then when Pam Bondi released a video that said there was nobody that visited Jeffrey Epstein in 2019, he killed himself. People's heads exploded, and now I'm seeing online people are saying, look, we have the timestamps on this video. This video was spliced. There are 3.5 minutes missing from this video. I mean, they're not making the conspiracy theories go away. And to your point, why not release them? The information is going to come back. Well, of course, my response is, well, because he's on the list.
Right. And this Jeffrey Epstein, what a creepy man. Let's face it, he really was. And his girlfriend was convicted
Maxwell,
of
whatever
was
first
convicted.
Name is.
She's now serving some time, and now she's coming forward, and her attorneys are saying, hey, we need to revisit her conviction because
because if there's nothing there, why is she in jail?
There. Why did she plead guilty, or why was she found guilty?
Right.
I mean, it especially when at a time when the president has released other files involving other investigations, including the JFK shooting and Martin Luther King shooting. Yeah.
Yep.
And he said, let's just let it out. Let's let people see. And of course, there wasn't much to either of those that we didn't already know. I mean, it wasn't some conspiracy. What the information we had about both of those assassinations, as it turns out, was fairly accurate, and there weren't too many surprises. So why not let it out? And in this case, I don't know that there would be a surprise if he's on some list. There's a zillion pictures of him with Epstein.
With Epstein, and remember in his first campaign, there were a lot of highly controversial statements that came out about his approach to women and even young women, and I don't know that people are going to be that surprised, but we feel like, at least I've heard Bill Clinton's on the list. We know Prince Andrew over in the UK was a big supporter of Epstein. We know Bill Gates was a friend of Epstein's, right? It was one of the things that led to the divorce between him and Melinda. And it's so interesting that this is the issue that is splintering MAGA.
Yeah, and let's face it, Trump is probably not going to run again, at least not under the current constitutional makeup of our country.
Well, just get the Supreme Court to say we don't need to follow anymore.
He's the president. He was elected. He's got both houses in House and the Senate behind him. He's got the Supreme Court behind him. What's the worst that comes? Let's say there's some horrible thing about him in there. He's had a lot.
He's not going to be impeached.
Right. It's not going to affect his job or career or his opinion with the public. He's got his base that will, and he's even said this, that will support him no matter what he does, no matter what he is accused of. So why get sideways with your own MAGA people at this point?
Well, again, it's the splintering of that base, right? So if you splinter that base, then maybe you don't have the support anymore. And we talked already today about how close the votes are, right? Just razor thin in both the House and Senate. So if you start to lose people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Speaker Mike Johnson, then he's going to have some real issues trying to get any more work done before the midterms.
And those are two names, Holly, that seem to support Trump no matter what he says or does. I'm surprised of all people, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
That she would take the different position.
She's
Mike Johnson
really, really unhappy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And you would think that from her perspective, from her political perspective.
Yeah.
And maybe her constituents are saying something. Or Mike Johnson, why even have a dog in the fight? Let it go. And he's saying, I stand behind, I don't stand behind. Trump stands behind Pam Bondi. Mike Johnson's saying, explain why she's keeping these files. Bring her in. Let's find out why we're not releasing this information that I think the public has a right to know. Why even chime in on that, Speaker?
Yeah, because he cares about this. And I would say probably they do have constituents. In fact, I think I saw a story today that said Marjorie Taylor Greene said she's getting hundreds of phone calls a day, and it's this issue. Stay on the Epstein files, right? We want to know. We want transparency. And it's been a huge issue. When she was campaigning for the president last year, that was one of the issues, right? We demand complete transparency. We're going to release all this information that's been hidden. And so it feels like a betrayal to President Trump's base, at least a portion of them. It feels like a betrayal because this is what he promised, and it's one of the things that was really, really important to them. Now, why? I'm not 100% sure why it's so important, but we also know that this is bipartisan. There's a lot of people on those lists that were associated with Epstein, and they're going to be from all political persuasions and people with a lot of money. And there are victims who have come forward and testified in public with their names public saying, but this happened to me when I was a minor.
Right. And the whole Epstein thing, without even getting into the fact that he died in jail under some suspicious circumstances. I mean, what's up with that? He was a filthy rich, and he was tied in with everybody important, and he'd done some things that were problematic. Maybe he was going to do some time. Maybe he was going to go to prison. But I mean, did he commit suicide? I don't know that we'll ever know really what happened to him inside that jail.
Pam Bondi said he did kill himself.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. But at some point, we are going to know what's in these files. The city of Kearns will be hosting a mayoral candidate meeting as it prepares to elect its first mayor this fall. I didn't realize that. Kearns has been around as long as I've been around. Let's get into what's brewing with municipal races in Utah and the significance of the first mayoral election in Kearns after the break.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. 2 men from Tooele are accused of kidnapping and threatening a man with a gun because they thought he was snitching on their drug deals. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Police arrested Peter Brandt and Alex Bowden, writing in jail documents the two tied up a man and then put a gun in his mouth as part of an interrogation. They wanted to know if the man was snitching on their cocaine deals to police. They also threatened him if he didn't hand over his phone and his password so they could see who he's been contacting.
The two suspects are now charged with aggravated kidnapping and aggravated robbery. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Mortgage applications fell drastically last week.
Figures compiled by the Mortgage Bankers Association find applications for a mortgage to purchase a home falling 12% last week, while applications to refinance a home dropped 7%. This all comes as the rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage jumped from 6.77% to 6.82% in the past 2 weeks.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is up 105 points. The S&P is up 7 points. And coming up, clouds rolling in. KSL weather is next. KSL News time 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM. I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
This summer, Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau invites you and the family to celebrate Raspberry Days, August 7th through the 9th. Join the fun with a festive parade, live music, food vendors, craft booths, and kids' rides at Heritage Park and Garden City. Don't miss the pie-eating contests, bingo, fishing tournament, and of course, Bear Lake's famous Raspberry Shakes. Cap it all off with the sparkling boat light parade and fireworks over the lake. Then, as the leaves turn gold and the air grows crisp, fall into adventure at Bear Lake. Explore scenic trails, cozy up by the fire, and check out the second annual MMA Fierce Fighting Championship event and Bear Lake Brawl Demolition Derby. Whether it's summer fun or fall thrills, plan your escape today. Lodging, events, and year-round paradise just outside your back door. Visit bearlake.org. bearlake.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here is Ricky Meese.
We've had a disabled vehicle in Sandy. It's now moved out of traffic. I-15 at 106 South. Not going to cause you a problem, but if you're traveling Davis County, just remember an earlier crash still has the road closed on the off-ramp from northbound I-15 to go westbound on SR 193 7th South in Clearfield. Your best option is to avoid the area and use an alternate route. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 94 today with mostly sunny skies, high of 98 tomorrow, and clouds move in over the next few days. Right now it is 88 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And you're back with us on Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Remember, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. This is an off year, Holly, meaning that we have municipal elections, and I'm always intrigued by elections.
Yeah.
But there are a couple cities that I guess, at least one of which I didn't realize hadn't already been a city. We're talking about Kearns, recently transitioned from a metro township to a city, which means it will have its very first, apparently ever, mayoral election.
Yeah, that's, as we're talking about elections, it's one of the things that's interesting. And I know that different places can have different forms of government, but even up in your neck of the woods, you have an initial mayoral race as well.
Yeah, the Ogden Valley, especially I don't know what it's called, the place I live now, the city, it's not really a city, Eden has done the same thing Kearns did, and they did vote to become a city, a municipality, and there are suddenly something I've never seen. I've lived up there for 20 years. There's little signs on everybody's yard, vote for this person, vote for that person. And we're such a small municipality, I'm kind of wondering if there's somebody that's not running that's in my neighborhood, because right. It's funny. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But to me, I guess just from my practice, and this will take a minute, but practicing law and working with law enforcement, I've learned that working on more of a metro or a county municipality working together makes more sense than some of the smaller cities. And I learned that just working with law enforcement when you had let's just look at Salt Lake County and think of how many cities are in Salt Lake County and how many of those had their own police force. Now we have a metro.
That's how we get unified, right? Unified fire.
That's why we have unified fire, and that's why we had a unified police for a short time in Salt Lake County. But I find that sometimes if you're not coordinated by working all together as a county, it makes it a little more difficult. So to me, this incorporation didn't make sense. It wasn't something I was in favor of. But Kearns is now doing that, and it's preparing for its first mayoral election. And you talked about the fact that ballots may be going out fairly soon.
They are. And so for municipal races with a primary, the election is actually August 12th, but ballots will go out next Tuesday. So they'll start dropping in people's mailboxes Tuesday, Wednesday, next week, and people can return them.
Yeah, and so that's for all municipal that have a primary.
It's all municipal races that have a primary, except for 4 cities in Salt Lake County that are doing ranked choice voting. Yeah, for the last election. It'll be the last time that they do that.
So if a city has ranked choice voting, they don't need to have a primary.
That's
because
right. It all happens at the general election in November. But that filing period will open the same time that the primary is over for municipal candidates in the rest of the state.
So what intrigues me that I think about not only in my city, soon to be city, and places like Kearns is you got to have a city hall. I mean, with setting up a city. It's not like you could used to put it in the back of the barber shop or something like that. But there has to be some city offices, I would assume. Maybe you can rent them on the cheap.
Yeah,
maybe you don't. I'm just surmising.
I'll just say I don't know the details on that. I had to look up what a township form of government is actually in Utah, and they do have somebody who acts kind of like a mayor, but it's different, right? So council members might choose the mayor or the chair for that, but they start to be responsible for land use planning, maybe trash collection, road maintenance, and I think it becomes easy, right, to say, okay, we're going to transition to a full city here. Metro townships can have limitations on being able to levy property taxes, so that might be one reason. Why did the people up in your neck of the woods, why did they want a city instead of just leaving it?
Because they're not happy with the county commission. They're not happy with what's happening up there. And
more local control.
Yeah, and Eden, I mean, let's face it, there are some snobby people up there who don't want the county to tell them what they have to do in terms of their building, in terms of their water, in terms of everything else. They wanted more self-determination. To me, it seemed like it was more cost. And the county, Weber County, and I'm sure you would say the same thing about Utah County, it generally does a pretty good job. I mean, I don't have any problem with the services that we get from Weber County. And I don't have any animosity toward the county commission. I can understand people being upset, but the area got to be a little too, affluent and thinking, why should we be associated with the, you know what I mean? I just think they did
You're
it for
snobby? Is that what you're saying?
I just think they did it for the wrong reasons. I don't know why Kearns did it, but Kearns is a fairly big municipality.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, Eden's tiny.
They've been a metro township, and now they're a city. So let me just ask you this quick question: Is it Eden City? Is it Eden that's going to be a city, or do you have a different city? Is it going to be a different name?
They don't have a name for it yet.
Oh,
but Eden, we can't lose that name.
Well,
they're calling it Ogden Valley or something like that right now, and
wow.
they're thinking of a name for it. I think that's even part of the.
Why would it not be Eden?
Well, because it includes a little bit more into than just Eden itself. So up in the valley, you've got Huntsville, Eden, Liberty, and I think that the new municipality may incorporate some of the various parts that I don't know for sure. But
so bye Garden of Eden in Utah.
Yeah, no, I'm still going to always call it Eden.
So we're going to actually do fun facts of the day in this segment because the next segment we're going to be joined by Utah Representative Candace Perucci to talk to us about some foreign adversaries trying to buy land in Utah. So my fun facts of the day. Today is National Hot Dog Day, and Senator Mitt Romney, who is no longer in office, that was his favorite form of meat, which is so weird to me, but he would always hold like hey, let's do J-Dogs today. And so National Hot Dog Day, there's actually, of course, businesses that are offering special deals. And one of the things that's funny to me is you have like a 7-Eleven. You can get a special deal at 7-Eleven on your hot dogs today.
Well, that because last Friday was 7-Eleven.
Right.
And so you could get free
going.
Slurpees on 7-Eleven. I'm a hot dog fan. I know they're not the healthiest things in the world, but I love a good hot dog. And I don't know, it seemed like we just talked about hot dogs. Maybe it was for the 4th of July or something.
We did, but it was bad news for hot dog lovers because there's a new study that says there's no form of highly processed foods like these meats, like hot dogs and bologna and some of the sausages, that are healthy for you, and you shouldn't eat them.
Well, that's when you said a minute ago Mitt Romney's favorite meat, and I'm like, I don't think it's a meat, is it? It's a product of certain things that you don't want to know how it's made.
Goodness. So it's actually hot dog season, so there's actually a National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, and of course you can imagine the season is between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Today is actually the hot dog day. But you can go to Sonic. Sonic actually has deals, and they're around in Utah, right? They have deals where you can get corn dogs or hot dogs. You can get them all through the month of July at a special deal. There's Wiener Schnitzel.
So I have to say, there's one thing I attend, and I go there every year, where you absolutely positively have to have a hot dog. What do you think it is?
A baseball game.
You're so smart. Exactly. When you go to a ball game, how do you not have a hot dog?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not? I mean,
they just taste better.
They just taste better. Yeah. They look better. Everything about them is better. I mean, I cannot attend a baseball game. Even the kids, softball games, if they got hot dogs at the stand, I'm signing up for one. So yeah, that's when I have my hot dogs, and I'll always do that every time I go to a baseball game. Sign me up for a hot dog. When we come back after the break, Utah is not for sale, especially not to foreign adversaries. That didn't stop them from trying to buy strategically important land in Provo, including near the airport. Representative Candice Perucci joins us next on the concerns surrounding these types of sales.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home, your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter, and this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Peak summer fun is here, and so are peak summer savings during the Utah Summer RV Sale, presented by Bish's RV. July 17th through the 19th at the Shops of Southtown, we're bringing you sizzling summer savings on new and used RVs. We're packing the parking lot with smoking deals for every budget. Shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more. Like travel trailers starting under $119 per month on approved credit. 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Plus trade up when you trade in your current RV. Get an additional $500 value added to your current travel trailer, or an additional $1,000 added to your current fifth wheel or Class C motorhome when you trade it in. You'll also get a Blackstone Adventure Ready grill with any RV purchase during the sale. And this is the only summer show to feature the entire lineup from Wayfinder RV, exclusively at Bish's. Don't miss your best chance for an epic second half of summer during the Utah Summer RV Sale. 3 days only, July 17th through the 19th at the Shops at Southtown. See you there.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 81734. Subject to prior sale. See the details. Deal number 426B.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make 'em go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. 'Cause I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The journey to franchise ownership can feel overwhelming, but Guide to Franchising is here to help. By providing valuable educational resources, they assist individuals in exploring and understanding the ins and outs of franchise ownership. Chief Franchise Guide Andrea Dobkin joins us with more.
When people hear franchise, they often think fast food, but it's so much more than that. I help Utahns and others across North America explore franchise opportunities that align with their lifestyle, values, and goals. From veterans and career changers to families re-entering the workforce or business owners looking to diversify, I guide people from all walks of life toward business ownership. Whether you're drawn to senior care, children's enrichment, health and wellness, food and beverage, or home services, there's a franchise that fits your budget, background, and interests. I work with 800 brands in over 70 categories, and my services are completely free. I provide the education, structure, and support needed to help you make confident decisions. Franchising is about being in business for yourself, not by yourself. With a proven model, expert training, and ongoing support, you're set up for success from day one.
Guide to Franchising continues to support those looking into franchise ownership by offering expert guidance and resources. Whether you're exploring options or ready to take the next step, learn more at guidetofranchising.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
The new Inside Sources.
Governor Spencer Cox held a press conference yesterday, Holly, indicating to the listeners there that Utah was not for sale. He was talking about some what he called foreign adversaries trying to buy some strategically important land in Provo. Apparently some Chinese interest was trying to buy some land near the Provo airport, which he thought was a little bit unusual.
Well, not even unusual, right? I mean, here's the concern is over time, foreign governments, but especially China, has purchased, I think it was close to 40,000 acres in Utah. And some of this is tied to really what are strategic locations. So something close to an airport, that can be, a risk to us for our state security, national security. And one of the people who is behind why Utah was able to stop that purchase is Representative Candice Perucci, and this has been an issue that she has cared about for a long time. And welcome, Representative Perucci. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. One of the questions I have for you is I just wonder if you can set up for our listeners what happened with blocking this sale, and then if you'll speak also to the bill that was passed that was able to prevent this.
Absolutely. So in 2023, 2024, I ran legislation that prohibits not only China, but their subsidiary shell companies, any company that's headquartered in China from purchasing land in Utah. And as part of that, we engaged the Department of Public Safety, and they conduct an annual training with county recorders who are going to be looking at land transactions. And they also are working with SIAC to do these investigations. So fast forward to over the summer, there was a company that tried to purchase a large amount of land next to the Provo airport. And it was actually a county recorder that flagged it because this entity is listed on the restricted list that the National Defense Authorization puts out that we have tied into the legislation and part of the training. So that was really significant. And because of that, they blocked the sale. And this company actually does and creates the jets and drones for the CCP military. This is a really big, quite frankly, a really big win for Utah to keep a foreign adversary like China out of the backyard of one of our critical infrastructures.
Representative, can you tell our listeners, does the legislation prevent land sales generally, or what is it limited to what we are calling strategically important land?
It's across the state, any land. So we did a broad sweep here because agriculture land is national security, food security is national security. So it is not just next to air bases or military installations. It's across the state.
So can you speak to our listeners about what particular foreign governments it's broader than just China, isn't it?
Correct. It's tied to restricted foreign entities in the National Defense Authorization Act. Right now, that's Russia, North Korea, Iran, and China. Now, if you look, what our intelligence community is telling us is China is the country that's actually perpetrating this strategy, but we included all of them.
Notwithstanding the legislation, it has to be concerning, Representative, that the land specifically that we're talking about here is near an airport, especially when you mentioned the type of company that was purchasing the land.
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems obvious. I don't know that we
it's so
something.
Brazen.
Right.
It's so brazen. It should be offensive, in my opinion. And they've been doing this for decades, quite frankly. And so what's unique about Utah's law is it's not just proactive, it's retroactive. So anyone who's owning land has to divest, and we're going after them, and they can do it the easy way or the hard way. They can choose to sell it on their own, and if not, the state will confiscate it. We will take the funds from that sale and put it back in our general fund.
It was interesting to me. I'm looking at the one of the articles written on the press conference, and that most of the Chinese-owned U.S. farmland is in 5 states, and Utah was one of those states.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we do have a lot of agriculture land, and, I think we forget because Utah, historically, we've been able to maintain this small town feel, but we are a major player when it comes to the aerospace and defense industry. If you look at the growing national security prime companies that are in Utah, right, Northrop Grumman and others, we have Hill Air Force Base, Camp Williams, Dugway, which conducts chemical testing and all sorts of testing for the military. So we have a lot of military assets that also make us, quite frankly, more of a target from a national security perspective. Another thing to note is of that 37,000 acres that's estimated, there was just a major divestment in almost 30,000 of those acres with the Smithfield. Because of the law that we had passed and the governor signed, they sold that company the majority of their assets. They divested, and a Utah family purchased it.
Wow, that's good to know. Let me ask you a question about upcoming legislation potentially. So, again, you've been really keyed into this issue for a long time. What are you anticipating for the upcoming legislative session that might, fit in this same pond?
Absolutely. I've got 2 bill files open already on this. One relates to our water infrastructure and vulnerabilities there. I've had a couple credible sources bring some alarming reports where a Chinese company created, the infrastructure that was put in, and they found malware on it. And so that's where obviously water security is really concerning. So we'll be doing a bill that addresses our water security and vulnerabilities there. We also have heard from different ranchers that China has changed their policy now. They've always required the ranchers show that they're not using GMOs when they sell them their product, but now they're requiring that they do a soil test and tell them which critical minerals are in the soil. So they're critical mineral mapping, which is absurd. So that's something we're going to be targeting. And then just making sure that Department of Public Safety and SIAC has all the resources they need to combat this and really conduct these investigations thoroughly. We have great companies like Strider in Utah that we'd love to partner with more to make sure that we're getting these properties expedited in terms of removing the owners from our state.
Representative Perucci, can you tell us, are the county clerks, are they armed with the knowledge and the information that they need to sort this out and to vet these buyers when they're purchasing public land?
So the county recorders should be the ones doing that, and they go to the annual training hosted by DPS. And I do think it's working when you have a county recorder being the one to flag it, so that if a transaction or something like that comes across their desk, they're able to check it immediately on the website and obviously notify the two individuals in the transaction, hey, this is a void contract based off Utah law. They know who to call at the Department of Public Safety. And I also think, though, we are raising awareness, and, yesterday's press conference has helped elevate this, that this is more of a discussion. Also, people can actually report suspicious property ownership on DPS's website. They have a link there. They've gotten dozens of reports and tips, and that's also where they can go to start the investigation.
Thank you again for joining us, Representative Perucci, and thanks for your attention to this and elevating, like you said, the knowledge that Utahns need to have about potential foreign adversaries trying to buy up our land. Thank you again.
When you listen to her, you understand why there is legislation like that.
That's
And
right.
especially in this day and age when we are having so much consternation and so much concern about what the Chinese,